Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hooked on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been golden when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the blockchain.
Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hooked on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like LeBron James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. The field's not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I gotta shout out
Started
the
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hooked on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
GM, welcome to Coffee with Captain. I'm Cap. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you all had a great weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed the weekend, and it's good to be back. It's good to be back on camera. I did enjoy an awesome trip with my daughter. If you got kiddos in high school age, or well, I mean, who knows what it's going to be like in a few years from now. But if you have kids, high school age kids, especially if you live in the state of Florida, you're doing it wrong if you don't at least check out FAU. Florida Atlantic University it vastly exceeded my expectations. And it may sound weird that I personally had not toured the campus, even though my daughter is going there. She had toured it several times, had a friend there, or like a couple official tours, and then had a friend, one of her best friends went to school there last year. So she had been many times. And obviously we did our research and what we could find out about the university. But this past weekend was my first time actually being on campus, and I'll just say it was not what I expected. I know it's like a coast university, it's minutes from the beach and all that, but when I first toured it, even the night before she had her orientation, we like went over and drove through campus, showed me where her dorm was and all that stuff, and I was like, I don't know if this is like, if she's going to like this for 4 years, because it's kind of like a self-contained city. I don't say it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's obviously not in the middle of nowhere, but the campus itself is just the campus. And there's 30,000 kids there. So it's like a small city of like 35,000 people. And, not much else around it. I mean, right across the street, there's a plaza that's got like a Whole Foods and other retail stuff. And obviously on campus, they have not only a dining hall, but they've got a food court that's got like a Chick-fil-A, and Buffalo Wild Wings is coming soon. And, a lot of different like food options and stuff on campus, but that was it. Like I was expecting a lot of development right around campus and couldn't figure out why it hadn't been developed out more near campus. Cause there's, again, 30,000 kids right there. Well, it's like, when I say minutes, it's like 10, maybe 15 minutes most from Deerfield Beach. And, there's other beaches like right in Boca, and Delray Beach is just the other direction. So it's like within 20 to 30 minutes of probably a half a dozen like world-class beaches. And then all the beach towns around there, that are awesome. What I didn't realize is just past campus is Boca Town Center. And we went like orientation, and then the plan was like a shopping excursion to get her school clothes and some other stuff she needed. And I had a trip, we're going to go all the way up to West Palm and up and down the coast, and a few good malls. I was very familiar with Sawgrass Mills Mall. I used to have a store there. And it's like it is one of the most visited malls in the country, one of the most visited tourist destinations in the country. They average like 55,000 customers a day. Something like 25 million people a year go through Sawgrass Mills Mall. And so I'm thinking, okay, we'll hit up these shops, might find a little bit, and then we'll finish up at Sawgrass and get everything that she needs. Long story short, we go to the first shopping we do after orientation is Boca Town Center, and it blew me away. Like it is the mall to end all malls. And picture like every luxury shop you could imagine is there, plus like decent deals on stuff. Anyways, she did really good, got almost everything she needed our first stop. And so much so that we didn't even do the West Palm stuff. We did some of the local boutique shops and the beach stuff. And we did do Sawgrass, and I got more there than she did. I think that Lululemon had, shout out Steve. I did not get any of the Lululemon underwear, but they had some crazy deals. It's actually a Lululemon outlet store. So they had like their normal markdowns and then something like 70% off the rest. So anyways, cleaned house at Lulu, and she got all the stuff she needed. Great weekend, enjoyed the trip with her, and pumped, like actually truly pumped for her college experience. A lot of her friends went to UF, University of Florida, and some others went to FSU. And she visited both these. She applied. She also got accepted at like Alabama and Ole Miss. And while I'm sure she would have been fine there, it's like I know I'm not a college age kid now, but I can't imagine like a better college experience than where she's going to school. As far as, if they want to do something, it's not like again, not knocking Alabama pain, but compared to like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, she's going to school on the beach, essentially on the beach, and is within a half hour in any direction. She can hit up some of the best shopping in the country, some of the best beaches in the country, although I'm partial to our Gulf Coast beaches, like Siesta Key and Honeymoon Island and everything on this Gulf Coast. Like just really, really excited for her. And at the same time, it like I had like the emotional, vulnerable like dad moments. Like, man, how is she like this month in 2 weeks starts college? Like, so yeah, enjoy your time with your kiddos. They whole like, oh, you only have 18 summers with your kids. I don't know. I didn't really think about it until it happened. And it's like, oh my goodness, like we had a great trip, but like how many more of these, like probably could count on one hand the amount of trips I'm going to get with just my daughter the rest of my life. And I got to move on so I don't get emotional. But all that being said, happy Monday. It's a coffee. We're live as always here on X audio, X video. We're also live on YouTube and Abstract. I shouldn't say as always, because when we travel like that, we were not live Thursday and Friday. And somehow the Abstract stream didn't get ended on Wednesday. So we apparently were live all weekend on Abstract. We weren't, but the chat bots were certainly there. What is live though is a new stream board. The board is complete. It can be updated, but as of now, it is complete. Shout out to Frosties and OS Wiki taking the center spot and going to get some love here on the show, not just today, but throughout the week. Frosties, we need to talk about like since you were the first one to take the center spot on buycapcoffee.com, you tell me, what would you like to see here on Coffee with Captain for our center sponsors? the whole board sponsor. You get an interview on the show. You get some highlights. But that center spot is Frosty's just took over with OS Wiki. If you really want to take it over from Frosty's, you can for 120. It goes down. I think it's 5% a day. It'll depreciate, but you can pick up one of these outer line edge spots for only $10 to also get a feature. We'll highlight this at the beginning of the show, at a coffee break, and at the end of the show. And yeah, Frosty's, think on it. Let me know what you would like to see. You get to call it as you are the first person to take over that center spot. Greatly appreciate the support. And I mean, for that matter, long overdue to have Frosty's on the show to talk about OS Wiki and all that he's building there. I did see that Clutch Puppies. I almost said Pup Cup. Clutch Puppies are featured now on OS Wiki. For some reason, I'm not sure why they got pulled off OpenSea, but it doesn't matter. No fear. They're on OS Wiki. Go get your Clutch Puppies, the OG Simple Farmer collection. Speaking of Simple Farmer, going to be joining us here today around 9 o'clock to not just talk StonkBrokers, but talk about the StonkBrokers ecosystem and some other things that are popping off there, and why it's not just. I'm excited. I do have a couple of StonkBrokers, so it's been awesome. It's been really fun to see them run up in floor price, but more so than like while I'm excited, I also feel bad. I feel guilty because I didn't shield them hard enough. We had Simple Farmer on before Mint, and anyone here could have went and picked up a Pup Cup for like $10-15, but I didn't push hard because I still had some bear market PTSD. I'd be lying if I said I expected it to run up to 6 ETH or 6.5 ETH or whatever the floor is this morning. Did not expect that, but I did know that it was some new experimenting, new on-chain experimentation, doing some new stuff. Didn't realize it was as deep as it's become or becoming. And the one thing that I probably underestimated was the ecosystem. Was the best analogy I probably heard or saw over the weekend was someone compared StonkBrokers to early virtuals. And when virtuals started popping off, the AI agent meta, I mean, you had AIXPT was launched on virtuals, and it went up to $1 billion. And there was probably half a dozen others that ran up to maybe maybe 8-9 figure valuations. I think AIXPT was the only one that went to $1 billion, but that ecosystem spun a lot of winners, and virtuals is still a going concern. While StonkBrokers are an NFT, I think it is doing them the project, doing the experiment a injustice to compare them to other PFP NFTs, especially in today's world where most PFP NFT brands are shying away from utility, shying away from on-chain experimentation, and rather would just, it's our rookie card, it's on-chain provenance, it's a digital collectible. That's fine, but digital collectibles is not what rocketed this space to what it became and what it is today. And the on-chain experimentation is a good thing, but I do think it's probably closer to virtuals as an ecosystem than it is most NFT PFP collections. Yes, certainly there are still some PFP collections that are experimenting and they're driving utility. The reality is most are not driving utility to their holders, or it's minimal utility, and they're not creating on-chain revenue generating protocols. And even those that are, very few are actually leveraging that on-chain revenue to drive it back into the ecosystem. And so I think it's closer to virtuals, maybe Hyperliquid or Pump is a better analogy, as their on-chain generating or revenue generating protocols that are driving their revenues back into back into the ecosystem. Anyways, I digress. Shout out to Frosty's once again. Greatly appreciate the support as always. Not just taking that center spot, but the constant support here of Coffee with Captain, the show. Frosty's out there, I think, literally every morning, and greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. We'll talk about this again mid-show and into show, and again, let me know what you would like to see for that center sponsor. Anything within reason will be considered. Also, I almost missed it. NFTD took another spot. NFTD was on the top left bar, and then just took this top right spot. BDT Creations, only on openpage.fun. We'll take a quick look at openpage.fun. All right. Good shout out to our friends over at OpenPage and BTD Creations, community there on OpenSea. I will also show OS Wiki if you're not familiar, a leading marketplace. I'm going to say it's, if we're going to talk, forget volume, I'm going to say it's marketplace number 2 right now, trailing only OpenSea. And when we talk about on-chain experimentation and doing more, probably doing as much. I know OpenSea is doing a lot of on-chain stuff, but as it relates to NFT support, hard to argue anyone's done more than have OS Wiki for our NFTs, especially those, not just the Yuga ecosystem, but a lot of great details and information. If you're buying from any of the Yuga collections, you're probably doing it wrong if you don't at least look at OS Wiki first before buying elsewhere. Just more information, more insight, more analytics, et cetera, et cetera. Coming in hot. I wasn't going to go here right away, but because blame Frosties. If you're going to be upset with me for coming in hot, blame Frosties for the center sponsorship, bringing me to OS Wiki, which brings me to seeing apes are down 5% of the day. Because I was going to at least let things warm up a little bit. It's only 18, 19 minutes after the hour. And so I wasn't going to go there quite yet. I mentioned we have Simple Farmer joining us at the top of the hour. I was going to wait a little bit, but because Frosty's called it to my attention, I would be remiss if I didn't, because I kind of joked. I said, StonkBrokers are going to flip apes by Monday at this rate. And then I sent it out, the announcement that Simple Farmer is joining us on the show. I said, oh, they're going to flip them live on the show. And I was joking about that. I might have joked it into reality. Sorry, not sorry. Apes down 5% on the day to 8.04. StonkBrokers up another 29% on the day to 6.9. I'm at a loss for words. Like, I was not surprised to see them flip Pudgy when they did. I'm not going to be surprised to flip it. I genuinely do think they're going to flip apes. I hope it's over 8 ETH. I hope it's not because apes continue to come down, but I rather StonkBrokers just, another day at 30% and they're probably there. But now within 1.14 ETH of flipping apes. And I will just say this, that I'm not trying to upset people. And I feel bad because I feel if I would have pushed harder, more of my friends, more of our loyal listeners would be in StonkBrokers. Granted, several of you did get in because we talked about them here on the show and, had Simple Farmer on. But I feel if I would have pushed harder, we might have, it would be even more of a celebration here on Coffee with Captain, because I think more if not all of you would have gotten in, because the price of admission, it was accessible to all. I know while a lot of things don't take off, we haven't seen anything rip up this high since, on the NFT side, since like 22. It's one in hindsight, I wish I would have pushed a little harder. I wish I would have minted more myself or bought more on secondary soon after mint. I'm just going to be grateful because I fell asleep on midnight and was extremely grateful that there were still a couple I could have minted when I woke up the next morning. But the thing where I go, because I don't really want to get spicy this morning. So I'm debating whether I share another tweet or not. So before I go there, I'm gonna catch up with the chat, and then we'll come back. I'm gonna think through how hard I go at this morning. But Looking at the abstract chat, GM to all the GMers, by the way, thank you so much for helping us get warmed up. Hans, Teacher Katie, Thomas. Hans said something wrong with the tips. Portal doesn't show them, but transactions are done on chain. Took me a bit to figure out. You have some nice tips made up for not tipping during my vacation. Hans, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I did notice my abstract wallet up a little bit this morning. No doubt that is due to your tips. Thank you very much. But I don't know why it's so. Basically, you're saying it's not showing up in the chat or on the stream. Is that what we're seeing, or what we're not seeing rather? Because I do see transaction history. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. There's actually, we got not just the Pingu tips, but there's some poly tips over there. There's some, I don't even know what BYOB is. Pingu, Abster, Newt, Pingu, Zippy, Abster, Newt, Chingu, Pingu, Blob. I'm guessing some of these were simply the bots over the weekend. But so this is kind of why, where I wanted to go, and I'm going to go there because Dort gave me permission. So I hope you don't mind me quoting you here. He said, no one blames me for not pushing more to do more. You do well to shine the spotlight on the builders. I mean, you could talk less about who they're flipping and why, but I guess that's part of the story. And he laughs, haha. That's what I want to do today. I do want to talk about why. I want to talk more about the story. I want Simple Farmer not just talk about what StonkBrokers is doing, but what those in the ecosystem are doing. But the reality is, it is a little complex, and it's really hard to convey that on the timeline. I don't know as if it gets the attention that it deserves. What does get the attention is who they're flipping. It turns heads. Like, the project's doing everything it's doing. We're earning, real rewards. In this case, on-chain stock is part of the utility, but it's just part of the utility. And I don't know as if it gets the attention from larger accounts. I don't know if it gets Ansem talking about it, for instance, if the floor is even 0.9, which is, by all intents and purposes, 0.9 ETH would be a huge win for a new mint in 2026. In fact, I don't know if there's another new mint that's even broken an ETH in 2026. To put it in perspective, it's really exceeded expectations in terms of price action and performance. But it's not just number go up. It's the volume is crazy. 154 ETH in the last 24 hours. By comparison, Pudgy has done 120 ETH. Apes have done 60 ETH. Even Pit Boys, which is a part of the StonkBrokers ecosystem, has done 55 ETH. Maybe I'm not properly saying that when I say it's part of the StonkBrokers ecosystem. Part of the clarification we'll get we'll be explaining this ecosystem. But the ecosystem itself, I mean, they're launching not one, not two, not three, not four, I think 5 different on-chain revenue generating protocols, all of which those fees from, maybe it's 4 plus the royalties, those fees go back into supporting the ecosystem. I understand that PvP can rub some people the wrong way. I understand, it's flipped Pudgies. And if someone's holding a Pudgy and they're not holding a StonkBroker, they might feel a certain way that's not good about that. I understand me talking about it's going to flip apes. Like, brace yourself, it's going to flip apes. I don't think it's going to be today, but it could happen today. And maybe it does pull back and it never flips apes. I would be surprised at this point. Why? Because it has the motion, it has the momentum, and it's not the usual suspects. It's not ripped up because a bunch of KOLs or a bunch of whales came in and swept this thing. Are there some whales in the collection? Yeah, absolutely. But the whales in the collection are people like TMA, who they didn't come in because they saw it ripping up and, I'm going to get in this for a short-term momentum trade. The whales in the collection, most of them, I can't speak for all, but most of them got in because they've supported Simple Farmer for years from the jump. And they've been a part of the variety of collections and experiments that he's done on chain. They've seen how he moves. what you started seeing this weekend, McAvey, I'm not sure. I'm having trouble adding you. Maybe do a quick lap and come back. Happy to get you in the combo, but it's failing every time I attempt to add you on the stage. I think part of the so people are what we started seeing this weekend. It was a lot of people talking about how, I got a DM from Simple Farmer, tried to get me in this collection, and I faded it, or people taking the victory lap because they responded to the DM and they got in the collection. What you're seeing right now with StonkBrokers isn't some overnight success. It's someone who's been building on chain and experimenting for quite literally years. And their first few experiments had some success. I think every one of them, had you got in early, you could have been in it for very low cost or free if you're already in a collection. You could have flipped it for a gain. Most of those other games were a few $100s, not 10, 12 grand. So very, very different in terms of scale, but experiments that was doing different things. Was the first person that allowed you to parlay prediction markets. Think about that. Not Kalshi, not Polymarket. You can't now. You can parlay picks on Polymarket, but the first to do it was Simple Farmer with Clutch Markets. Proud to say that Clutch Markets was one of our early sponsors here on the show. So, and while I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for the support. Also grateful it connected us with an on-chain experimenter. And I think that is a large part of what is being missed here. Is a lot of people think, this art is, people are here. No, a lot of people are NFTs for the utility, for the access, for the tech, for the on-chain experimentation. That's what we're seeing with StonkBrokers. And I think what we're also seeing with StonkBrokers is it is bringing a little bit of PvP back. Why? Because it's the first collection we've seen rip up like this since 22. Yes, I know we've had like Good Vibes Club, who I love, and they ran up and they flipped doodles. It's exciting. But the reality is there hasn't been a collection since 22 that was even like a real thought of, this is going to flip pudgies, let alone apes, let alone punks. And somebody, I think that's crazy when I throw that out there, like, StonkBrokers could flip punks. It's just a 4X from here. It's crazy if you're valuing it as an NFT and you're comparing the pixel art. This is in the provenance. That's maybe crazy to think like the StonkBroker pixel art could flip punk's pixel art that were one of the earliest NFTs. How high did capybaras run, OX Lawyer?
I think they hit it up to 12 ETH.
Capybaras at 12 ETH?
Yeah, 10 to 12 ETH. Absolutely.
Jeez. Okay, I stand corrected. You're right.
Yeah, we got the Ansem pump this weekend. He tweeted clock in on Saturday, and then he shouted out Simple Farmer and quote tweeted a post yesterday. And off of both instances, you saw a little pump in the chart. I would say yesterday you saw a huge pump in the chart after that tweet.
12's wild. I didn't realize capybaras ran up to 12. Part of the reason why capybaras ran up to 12 was why? Because the art? Nope. No chance.
No, it was because it was Kaido and it was the info file. And,
yeah.
They were worried about getting a drop.
They ran up to 12 ETH because on-chain experimentation, Kaido was first to info-fi. There was on-chain utility. There was big airdrops, and people were speculating more would come. But part of it wasn't just the Kaido airdrop. It was info-fi and the new meta. Kaido was, whether you liked info-fi or not, you can't dispute that it took significant mind share and got most of this app talking about it. Either they loved it and they were farming info-fi campaigns, or they hated it and they were dunking on info-fi campaigns. Same thing where I compared it to virtuals. Whether you got in the AI agent meta or not, hard to dispute that it took over mindshare on this app for quite a while and made people a lot of. I mean, AIXBT was the ICO trade. I know ICO kind of had his come up with Blast, but he made his money with virtuals. Like he made his first 7-figure trade was AIXBT, and this is. What people say, they would like to hear why this is the new meta. Well, part of it is because it's bringing back on-chain experimentation. Was the first to introduce tokenized stocks to their holders as part of the loyalty reward. So part of what we saw with virtuals and even more so with Hyperliquid and Pump Fund was this I need to come up with a better word than flywheel, but this flywheel of it's an on-chain protocol that's generating on-chain fees, and those fees are rolling back into the ecosystem to support the supporters, to support the holders, to support the token. Historically, whether it was Hyperliquid or Pump Fund or Uniswap, while that flywheel worked, all of them have a supply of 1 billion tokens. It's a massive supply. So even though that they are buying back, in some cases buying and burning their tokens, it takes a lot to, when you got a supply of 1 billion tokens. Stockbrokers, part of what's different about this meta and why it's driving so much so quickly is supply shock. Is the fact that there's not 1 billion Stonkbroker tokens. Now, there's actually, I don't even know how many the actual fungible token there are. Maybe there is 1 billion. But when it comes to the NFT, which is at the core of this ecosystem, there's 4,444. It's not that much. And what NFTs, that often in the 10K supply variety taught us, is that they can be extremely volatile, both directions, extremely fast, because the supply is so little. The order book is so thin. It doesn't take that much. A couple of sweeps and boom, all of a sudden you're up 20, 30%. When you start then talking about the fees, we talked about it on this very show, coincidentally or not, maybe we'll get him on here and ask if we were part of the inspiration behind the StonkBrokers model, because we talked about it on this show with Simple Farmer, talking about Hyperliquid. And I said, imagine if Hyperliquid just took 1% of their fees and used it to buy hypers, which aren't even the native Hyperliquid. Like, it's not from the Hyperliquid team. It's just like the preeminent NFT on Hyperliquid or HyperEVM. And at the time we did the math, it was if Hyperliquid took 1 day out of the month and decided we're going to take our revenue, we're going to take our fees and go buy hypers instead of the hype token, just 1 day out of 30, there would be no Hyperliquid floor, or excuse me, there'd be no hyper floor. They would have literally bought 1 day a month. They would buy every hyper listed on the market. And this idea that there is, again, I don't want to try to oversimplify it and say it's simple supply demand, but the difference between 4,400 tokens and 1 billion tokens is not being talked about enough. And so when we say something like, oh, if we're just comparing pixel art to pixel art, and you say, oh, Stonkbrokers are going to flip CryptoPunks, you'd probably get laughed at. But if I say, hey, the Stonkbroker token is hot right now, it's taken over the timeline, it's the winner right now on Robinhood chain, which is the new shiny toy in crypto, and Stonkbroker, the token, is the winner. This morning it's trading at, let me go double check, because I don't want to misquote. And Joy and Machiavelli, I promise we'll get to you here. I got to check because it's up from last I checked, so I don't want to misquote.
In Cap, it's actually a 3 billion token supply.
3 billion, okay. Even
yes, yeah, it is. But it's correlated to the NFT.
I know.
So if the NFT's out on the market, then that's 666,666 tokens missing from supply. But it can be swapped in and activated if you send your broker to the pool.
The token itself is trading at $35 million FDV. It's like a 4x away, 4.5x from here to flipping punks, for the NFT to flip punks. So if we said, oh, this NFT is going to run up to 32 ETH, you'd probably say, oh, you're crazy. But if I say, oh, this token that's trading at 36 million and has an all-time high of 41, 42 million, it's going to run up to 200 million. We've seen fungible tokens run to 200 million not every week, not every month, but for a new hot token that's become the golden child of Robinhood chain, to say, oh, this fungible token is going to go from 40 million or 36 million to 200 million. That doesn't seem like much of a reach. And yeah, there is a burn mechanic. It is deflationary. We'll talk about all that. I'll save the specifics for when we get Simple Farmer on here in a bit. But and yeah, this is, I think, also maybe what some people are confusing is StonkBrokers and FWA, the lawyer says, kind of have them in the head as the same thing. He knows they're not. They're very, 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 very different. But
they're not the same at all.
But both did bring back on-chain innovation. Both brought back some new mechanics, and both have NFTs at the core of them. Now, I know on FWA side, there is a token, there's a non-fungible token, but it's more of like the season pass. But the NFTs they're what's in the gotcha machine. Oh, by the way, I've been saying we're going to see gotcha machines everywhere. I took some pictures when I was at Sawgrass Mills Mall, and I think I counted 3 gotcha machines in the mall. From not exactly gotcha machines, but I'm trying to even think what store it was at. It was like a blind box of it was like a clothing store. I can't remember which one. I'll go through my images here in a second, but it was a clothing store that you could buy a gotcha box at the checkout that had one of 3 keychains in it. So you could get the Grail keychain. There was some of the in real life vending machines that are like BZ, but not as good because they don't show you transparent odds or your expected value. There was one of those in the mall, and there was a third one that's slipping my brain right now. But we're going to see gotcha machines everywhere, and FWA was early to incorporating NFTs into the gotcha machine. I think we'll see more of those. I think we'll see more on-chain gotcha machines because it's better than off-chain because you can be transparent with the odds. I think we'll see brands like Apes and Pudgies, I hope, incorporate gotcha machines into some of their stuff they're doing. And this is why I get so excited and why I think that PvP is good. And I know PvP is bad. Like, it's bad if it's nasty. If you're punching down and you're taking shots at others in the space that are attempting new things, that's not great. But competition's a good thing. Competition fuels innovation. That's a really good thing. I'm not sure why I'm getting tagged by tag.28 and showing me the CDC let's stop HIV together. I don't know how to interpret that. I'm not sure what that's about, but the chats be chatting. Trying to collect all my thoughts here. In the chat. The chat's as per usual on a Monday morning. We are rip roaring and ready to go. Welcome, by the way, to Coffee with Captain. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. We do go live every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and we're live on X Audio, X Video, Abstract, and YouTube. Often the first part of the show, it's daily, trending topics, news of the day, market update, and then the 9 o'clock hour, we'll bring on a special guest from time to time. Today, our special guest is the guest of the hour, the guest of the week, the month. It is the one and only Simple Farmer, going to be joining us here shortly to talk all things StonkBrokers and including that ecosystem. But yes, to answer the question, is this deflationary? Brick it all, almost 18% has been burnt so far. 18%, and it's not even a month old. 18% of the token has been burnt. I do remember when Bored Ape Yacht Club had the real life gotcha machine at ComplexCon. I hope they lean back into that. Not only for in real life stuff like Ape Fest, I hope they have an in real life gotcha machine at the train station in South Carolina, Charleston. I hope, and I hope they do more with the gotcha mechanics. For instance, like, I don't mind the raffles. It's fine, but versus just luck of the draw and hitting a random raffle for a hat or a windbreaker, again, it's fine. That it's better than not giving your holders a chance to win stuff before you give the general public. I appreciate that, but take it one step further. Let me see the randomization. Let me pull a gotcha machine. I know it's maybe semantics, maybe it's just a fancier user interface, but it works. I was going to enter the raffle for the jacket. It was not really my style, but I was gonna, if I wanted it, I was gonna let a friend buy it at cost, and I forgot to enter. If it was a gotcha machine, I'd probably enter. I know it's silly. Sometimes silliness works. I used to log into DraftKings every day and play a contest, some random, Counter-Strike or WNBA fantasy contest, because there was a daily mission in there that if I completed this, I got some extra crowns. And then one day I could crash out those crowns for a robot vacuum cleaner. This is a true story. But I don't do DraftKings anymore. They're a bad company, and they're runners. So just full fade DraftKings. Again, another story for another day. If you want to get into fantasy football, go play Underdog Best Ball, or even better, on-chain Best Ball by way of Spoiled Banana Society. Zane, not only do I hope they have a gotcha machine at the train station, I hope it's so popular that the train station decides to put in a permanent gotcha machine. I'm not kidding. I think you're going to see these things everywhere. I've used the example. I think you're going to go to a baseball or a football game in the near future, and you go up to will call, and there'll be a gotcha machine there. And yeah, you can buy a nosebleed for $10, or you could spin the gotcha machine for $20, and maybe you just end up with a $10 nosebleed ticket, or it's your lucky day and you pull home plate tickets right behind home plate, or 50-yard line at the football game because you hit on the gotcha mechanic. It's not me saying this is popular. It's like the data speaks for itself, and I think we're going to see more and more of it. My point on PvP being good, and I'm going to pull this up because Dort went there, so I'm going to go back to it. This isn't a bad thing. I'm not taking shots. I'm not fighting. It's getting close, but I still have more exposure to Yuga than I do StonkBrokers. That might change by this time next week, but I'm not fighting my own bags. I'm not fighting Yuga, not fighting Pudgy. PvP is a good thing. I feel pretty strongly about this. So much so that, and Joey and Machiavelli are on deck here. So much so that it's like, this is what the space has been. This is what NFTs have been lacking. The space hasn't. Like, there's been Pump Fun shipped $1 billion protocol. Hyperliquid, $1 billion protocol. There's been a lot of exciting stuff happening in crypto. Startups going to $1 billion in their first year. It's incredible. It's just none of that happened in NFTs. Why? I don't know exactly why, but I think a lot of it has to do with the NFT PFPs brands started, they shipped some stuff that didn't necessarily hit, or they got some bad feedback, and they collectively, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them just stopped experimenting. They said it's easier just to sell stuff to our existing supporters in our base than it is to try new stuff on chain. And
Cap, if I could interrupt, yeah. I think what we're seeing here and what changes is that now it's an investment vehicle. And I think that's what we always wanted it to be. We always wanted, like when we got into these JPEGs and everything like that, and we saw a number go up and all this, and it was like, oh, I'm investing in this. I'm a part of something, but I'm investing in this. And it was never really an investment. We were a customer the whole time.
I would say the whole time. I mean, for a while.
Well, I would say this market, though, the way that the market ran, you know what I mean? Like, the NFT was an NFT, but like I feel like now it's an investment, and it's where like we're reaching that place of where we wanted it to be. And this is the first one to do it.
In a while. First one to do it in a while, I would say. It's definitely been I'm going to read the quote. I was hesitant. I was thinking about not going here, but I'm going to share if you're following me, you could see my replies and you could see it anyways, but I'm going to share this. Again, not taking a shot at Spencer, I'm not taking a shot at Apes, but he says, people wanting anything to be PvP in 2026 or thinking it is funny. What's good for crypto, NFTs, wallets, etc., is good for crypto, NFTs, wallets, etc. I agree. What's bad for it is bad for it. So yes, what's good for crypto, NFTs, and wallets is good for crypto. I agree. So is competition. I say unpopular opinion. PvP started with War on the Floor, and Apes had an aspirational goal to flip punks. And then every NFT collection that followed aspired to flip apes. And that period was the most fun in NFTs by a landslide. Why? Because it led to a lot of experimentation. We were seeing new stuff on chain. We were seeing that anytime something new was shipped, the supporters of said collection got rewarded for supporting said collection. Sometimes it was airdrops, whether it was a fungible token or a Dookie Dash pass or fill in the blank. Other times it might be, if you were a holder, you got first access to buy something that was gated. That was innovation at the time. And then we went to PvP is bad. And most stopped even attempting new things on chain. Competition is good. Competition is good. And sometimes you need to get flipped to start competing again. I mean, seriously, who has even shaken up the NFT landscape in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since Pingu dropped? Who's even like, first project that comes to mind is Good Vibes Club. I think they've done an incredible job curating collectors, great art, and doing some new stuff. The reality is, I don't think like Pudgies or Apes or Punks or those ecosystems, those communities viewed Good Vibes Club as a threat, and not that they should view StonkBrokers as a threat or any of these other, but new stuff that's clearly captured attention of the space, that's bringing back the utility model, that's bringing back the loyalty reward model that my guy Steve and Scott wrote about on-chain loyalty rewards in the Everything token several years ago, and all this stuff holds true. Unfortunately, a lot of the companies stopped attempting to execute that model. And it's not just Starbucks and Nike and the big brands that came and left. A lot of the brands here stopped. They just did. It is what it is. They just stopped. And they started just selling stuff into their holder base. But again, I'm not saying they shouldn't sell stuff. They should. But if you've been to the show before today, you've heard me beat the alignment drum. Like, drive some alignment with your holders. Drive some alignment with your supporters. Web3 was supposed to be different than Web2. It's easy to differentiate yourselves from Web2, but you have to make the attempt. You have to make the effort. You have to tie some of these products that you're shipping to on-chain rewards. And you know what? To give credit where it's due, Yuga did this with the Coda plushies. Everyone who bought that Coda plushie was their first RWA on-chain. You got a free card. You got a free pull from, can't remember if it was Collector Crypt or Fidgetal. One of the gotcha companies out there. One of the RWA companies. Cool. More of that. The Daniel Arshament and other side was new. Awesome. More of that. But you know what? I don't think any holders got any perks from that. And that matters. You want to drive excitement, like collectors collect. Yeah, they want to collect things that can lead to perks, utility. Far too many of the NFT brands who got where they are today by delivering utility and rewards to their holders said, oh, no more. It's too hard to do that. We might ship something that our users don't like. Let's just not make the effort. Let's just not ship anything new. Let's just not deliver any actual utility or rewards to our holder base. Because if we don't do anything, they can't get upset with us shipping the thing they didn't want or they didn't see value in. That's the big paradigm shift we're seeing here. Is it's not about tokenized stocks. That's what happens to be one of the core pieces of utility at StonkBrokers, but that's not it. That's not the why. The why of this is happening is because we're seeing on-chain experimentation and we're seeing new stuff. And the way to get access to the ecosystem and on the new stuff is you pick up an NFT. Seem pretty simple at the highest level, but I know it's easy to say, it's simple to say. It is challenging to execute and execute well. And maybe it doesn't last. But part of where I'm disappointed in myself is I kind of like downplayed the excitement around this too hard. And I'm not pleased. I'm going to downplay it now because I don't want, nor do I think everyone should go rush out and buy a stockbroker for 6.9 ETH. Like, that's a risky buy. But what you could do is tap into the ecosystem, pay attention to what's next, because it's not just StonkBrokers. We've seen Pitboy, we've seen Mind Boys. And I know there's more, but those two that come to the top of my brain that have launched as part of that ecosystem, and more is coming. So if you missed virtuals and you said, I missed this, so I'm fading the whole thing, you missed AIXBT. But if you missed virtuals, like, oh, I missed this, what's next? You would have hit on a 9-figure cook because you would have saw AIXBT early. I'm not saying there's going to be another AIXBT spawned out of the stockbroker ecosystem, but what if there is? And you're here every day and you tuned in and you missed StonkBrokers, and then you say, you know what, Simple Farmer's coming on here in 8 minutes. I missed StonkBrokers, so I'm not going to pay attention. And then you missed the next AIXBT, then you're going to feel down pretty bad. Yeah, Arsham did have the higher raffle rate for Yuga holders. Great, respect. I appreciate they made the attempt in somewhat of an effort there. And I love the experimenting they're doing in other side. I just like to see more of it. And I don't mind paying for stuff. I expect them to generate revenue. But I think it's a weak excuse for any NFT PFP brands who use lack of royalties as an excuse in 2026. It is an excuse. It's a bad excuse at this point. It's a weak excuse. And it doesn't take much in royalties to generate a little bit of excitement, momentum, and support for your holders. I'm not saying every collection should go buy their token and burn their tokens. I'm not saying that, but it really doesn't take much to drive. Like, again, I happily bought some kits in the other side. I think I can't remember if it was $100 or 100 Abe. I don't know. I experimented in other side. I spent some, but you know what would get me to experiment more in other side is if I got more perks because I've been supporting that ecosystem for 5-6 years. I don't know. Maybe give me everyone gets a free kit, and if you're a holder, you get 2 free kits. Is that going to drive a lot more people? I don't know. Maybe it would drive me to give more support. Just keeping it real. And this is not brought to you by Doma or the Keeping It Real segment. I'm keeping it real. They are experimenting. I agree. They have been experimenting a bunch on the other side. Where I don't feel they've been experimenting, quite frankly, for a few years, is for the club. I'm actually struggling. I'm pausing here because I'm trying to think what's the last experiment we saw for the club. The only thing I got is some of the stuff for other side, like the Arsham Mint. Oh, you got, if you held X assets, you got a better chance of hitting on a raffle. That's all I got. I agree. Take some swings with the club. This is also why I think competition's a good thing. Because if I'm Yuga, if I'm Pudgy, and I'm not noticing, if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not seeing StonkBrokers up under 35% of the day and it's at 6.9 ETH floor, I don't know what are you doing? I'm not saying copy everything they're doing, but you should at least be taking note. The market's speaking. This isn't just me. This is like, if you would have said no and faded me after we had Simple Farmer on the first time, cool. You can't argue with the market. Market is doing market things. It's not just 6.9 ETH. It's on major volume. 154 ETH in the last 24 hours. Clubhouse, we will see if there's on-chain experimentation. I hope so. I hope holders get, we know we've been told that holders will get access to a special room or some extra perks there. So I think you're right, but we just haven't seen that yet. And I know that they're taking massive, like other side and Clubhouse are 2 massive swings, but this isn't just apes. All of them. Like, name a legacy NFT PFP brand that's done some experimentation in the last couple years on chain. And all that we can come up with, all that I've got, and please chat, let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know what I've missed, because all I've got is, oh, you hold this NFT, you get a multiplier in some sort of raffle or some sort of InfoFi, or if you hold VFriends, you can buy you can get guaranteed access to the VFriends drop, the top Chrome drop. Cool, it's better than nothing. but it's not really. I mean, I guess you could call it on-chain experimentation because it's your NFT that gets you that access. So I'll tend to be fair there, but that's not driving the next meta. That's at least an attempt to drive alignment with your holders. So I am appreciative of that. CyberKongs, Ed says CyberKongs did stuff on ordinals and now have dumpster. Yeah, CyberKongs have experimented. I did participate. I didn't do dumpster. I did participate in their Death Star. I'm not certain what drove, what utility or perks that CyberKong holders got as a result of that. I too personally love, Board FM says, I personally love the in real life clubhouse coming. Many do not care. I would love for Yuga to lead for the club with on-chain things for all holders around the globe. I agree. I think they can do that for using the clubhouse as a catalyst, but they still have, I mean, to be determined. Dumpster, Frosty, I think you might be thinking Death Star. And I don't, like, when I first saw Death Star, I thought it was a negative. I don't know if it's actually played out that way. It was probably kind of a nothing burger in hindsight as far as the impact it had on other NFT collections. Made to ask, Simple Farmer, a big ape guy, right? Why did he do this experiment on Robinhood? Not. I think he means Ape Chain. Yeah, Simple Farmer.
Can I say some of that? Like, because if you're looking at the opportunity, Robinhood is the one that was having the test net.
Yep.
They were having people play with tokenized stocks. Like, you can't, like, I hate the comparisons and people trying to say, why didn't people do this? Like, it wouldn't have happened on Ape Chain. It happened on Robinhood. You know what I'm saying? But now, people, like, this is the thing, is that no matter what chain you are on now, I hope you realize the opportunity in front of you and that you now can play with RWAs,
Yep.
tokenized access, and experiment and create something on Ape Chain.
And I'm not going to single out any quotes because I got in trouble for outing the war room. I'm just going to say, yeah, Yuga and Igloo, they have given their holders a lot, maybe more than any other NFT company so far. And you could have sold those PFPs for upwards of $500,000, 5 and 6 figure airdrops. I agree. So does that mean because they've done all that, it's just over? And we should never expect any utility again? Now they can just become digital collectibles? I'm not saying that's what Igloo or Yuga is saying, but I do hear that from other NFT founders now that, oh, royalties are you got to make some changes to collect on royalties. My point is, yeah, I'm grateful for those rewards. I still rock an 8 PFP, despite them encroaching on my turf and hosting a show at 9 o'clock a.m. on Thursday mornings that I'm really, it's turning me off, but that's another story. I'm not going to go off on that today. Which, by the way, most shows we get more listeners than they do because they're competing in a bad time slot. It's not just our show. It's every other trader is hosting morning shows now. So, but I digress. So is the take that, oh, the Yugas and the Igloos of the world, they already dropped their token, so it's just over? Well, if that's the case, then their floor prices are probably too high if there's no more utility coming. But we know that there is more utility coming. We know there's a clubhouse coming. We know there's Ape Fest coming. So what I'm saying is we used to see a lot of experimentation on chain. What led to those 5 and 6 figure airdrops was on-chain experimentation, was new stuff. ApeCoin was new. To drop a token, a fungible token to your NFT holders, that was new. It was exciting. I was here all of 21, 22, and almost it seemed like every week, but if not almost every month, there was something new and something to get excited about, something that was novel, something that was an experimentation. I'm not expecting 6-figure airdrops in 2026. What I would love to see, though, is some on-chain experimentation. Because the reality is, any of these existing NFT PFP companies, they could launch the protocols that StonkBrokers is launching. They could have launched a perp dex. They could have launched a meme launcher. And some third parties launched it on their chains or in their ecosystems. But my challenge, I'm not fudding my challenge to Igloo. What is Igloo launched on Abstract Chain? I know what Yuga has launched on Ape Chain, and other side is very impressive. my challenge to them would be, how can you find ways to reward your most loyal supporters, your long-term supporters in that ecosystem? Build out other side. But I challenge you to find ways to drive alignment with the apes and the mutants, who the reality is, without apes and mutants, without that community, other side isn't what it is today. It's not. That's okay, but lean into that stuff. It clearly works. So many of us here are looking for that stuff. Goes all the way back to Top Shot. When people came in and started ripping Top Shot packs, there was utility there by completing sets and doing more. Gamify the experience, gamify collecting. Some, Good Vibes Club, have done that with their collector profiles, and I know they're not the only one, but some of this, I know it's not easy, but I think it is kind of simple, pun intended, for our upcoming guest here in a few minutes. Simple Farmer is going to join us, and it's not any one thing that he's done in this StonkBrokers ecosystem. Anything individually by itself, pretty simple. It's not some crazy earth-shattering rocket science, oh my gosh, how'd you think of this? It's just constant experimentation for 2-3 years, and found some product market fit and is doubling down on it. And the market's responding in kind. Let's do this. Let's go. We do have Simple Farmer in the green room, so I want to be respectful of his time today. Super busy guy, in high demand in the world of spaces. But before we bring Simple Farmer up here, I want to get we can probably flesh these thoughts. Is there anything other that I hit on, or anything else we talked about unrelated to StonkBrokers? If StonkBrokers really, maybe hold it until we get Simple Farmer to join us. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to go refill my coffee, so I don't have to take another coffee break during the final hour here during this interview. And I'm going to hand it to Joey. And then Joey, if you're done, go back to Machiavelli. And by the time you both get done, my camera will be unmuted and we'll have Simple Farmer on here. If you haven't yet given this show some love, the repost, the bookmark, the like, the subscribe on YouTube, do all the above. We'll greatly appreciate it. Love to have a full house in here for Simple Farmer in a few minutes, right on the other side of this break. But before we even actually break, Joey, GM, appreciate you. And between you and Machiavelli, if you give me like 90 seconds of air cover, I'll be able to hear you. I just won't be able to get back in until I get back from the coffee break. GM, Joey.
Yeah, buddy. So the PvP stuff is like cool and fun, but I don't think it's fair. Like you're comparing an NFT, collection that was specifically built on the idea of utility, access, like investment, versus like PFP collection, NFTs that were launched on like, community and vibes, and then decided to start like creating businesses, and obviously completely different verticals, right? Like Pudgy went with the toys and all that stuff like that. And then, other side going with, Apes going with other side, and Clubhouse, right? Like, so they're all very different. I do not think it's fair though to make what StonkBrokers is doing and say like, oh, they flipped Pudgies, oh, they flipped Apes, oh, they did this, because one of them is specifically like a financial vehicle. It should flip those things, right? Like you're purchasing an asset that is specifically designed for financial gains. You're getting shares of stocks and RWAs, and like they should be worth more than something that is just community and vibes. Maybe I'm wrong. I know it's fun to do the PvP thing, but I don't think it's PvP at all. I don't see them anywhere remotely in the same world of NFTs. And this is why we need to stop calling them all NFTs. NFT is a technology. That's all it is.
So, you know what you remind me of? And I love you, so I'm not saying this like to take a shot back at you, but you know what I could have replaced StonkBrokers with Apes, and you could replace, in your story, you could have replaced StonkBrokers with Apes, you could have replaced Apes and Pudgies and all the others with CryptoPunks. We heard this exact same thing in 21 during the war on the floor, and Apes are going to flip punks, and everyone's like, no, it's not going to happen. And then when it got close, they're like, well, they should flip punks because it's people are joining for access and for utility. and the rewards of a fungible token and rewards of other NFT airdrops, both from Yuga and from third parties. It should flip punks because they're getting utility. Like we've heard this before. Like, is it not what you just described, not exactly the same to where most of these NFT collections, which now are, many of them are self-proclaimed, it's just a collectible, and you get access to a community. It's just vibes and community. Didn't almost all of them launch as a utility NFT?
Wait, say that again. Which?
All of them.
Which one?
From 2021, it started with Apes. Like Apes, the utility, you got access. You could draw pixels on a bathroom wall.
Yeah, but I mean okay, fine. There's utility,
and we're
talking about a project that's specifically launched. It's like saying like
we just got reminded that Apes and Pudgies have given their holders 6 figures in airdrops. That's utility. That's about as most powerful utility you can get.
Yeah, but is it? Yeah, but again, like we're talking about like again, maybe it's just me here, right? Like the airdrops is just manufacturing money out of thin air, right? Where StonkBrokers, to me, I look at StonkBrokers like, I opened up an account with Fidelity or Ameriprise or whatever, and because I chose to open up an account with them and pay a specific annual fee, I'm now investing in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and whatever. Like it's a completely different type of financial utility versus like, hey, guess what? After being a Pudgy holder for 3 years, we're just going to create fake money out of thin air by launching a token. Like, I don't think they're in this. Again, this is my problem with people calling all of these projects NFTs. NFT is just a technology.
Exactly. NFTs are a technology that you can build on top of. It's permissionless. It's that's the point. It is just an NFT, but it is an NFT that's better technology than a fungible token.
I mean, I think it's a disservice to Simple Farmer and StonkBrokers to compare them to Apes and Pudgies. That's my opinion. I think what they've built goes beyond what Pudgies and Apes are, because they've built something that transcends just Web3 with the idea of, by owning this, you're getting fractional shares in stocks and these other things. Like, I think that's a little bit of a disservice to what they've built there, to say like they should be worth more. They should, in my opinion, they should be worth more than punks. I mean, it depends on if they can keep the gains going and all that stuff like that, right? Like if the stocks keep coming and all the investments keep coming, they should 100% be worth more than punks, because you're making money on real live assets, real world assets that are never going to go away. Like you're owning.
Are you a broker, Joey?
What do you mean?
Are you a broker? Are you a stockbroker?
I do not own one. I could not afford one by the time they started talking. I never got a DM from Simple Farmer about anything, so I wasn't on the inside, which is fine. I'm not mad about it. I'm glad everybody's winning. But I don't own one because by the time it started getting talked about, they were too expensive for me. So I'm completely impartial here, right? Like, I just think that, again, when we talk about like the utility of these things, like, I just think that it's a disservice to say that they shouldn't, like, it's not PvP. It's a completely separate, different thing.
Except that the core of all of them is an NFT. That's what makes it PvP. And I'm not saying that Igloo or Yuga or Doodles or Good Vibe Clubs or anyone should copy what StonkBrokers are doing. What I'm saying is they absolutely should be experimenting with the technology and building on these NFTs. Many of them just stopped. What created a lot of the hype?
100%. I think we all agree on that. Yeah,
that's my point. It is an NFT, and you can experiment. You can earn on-chain revenue, and you can reinvest that revenue into the ecosystem. You can. I haven't come up with a better word yet, but you can create a flywheel on-chain. It's like, this is the first time we've seen it happen. And because StonkBrokers is NFT and that ruffles some feathers with other NFT collections, then look at FWA. It's not an NFT per se, but they're leveraging NFTs and other things that obviously found product market fit thanks to Beezy and others in the whole gotcha mechanic. My whole point isn't my point is I want to start earning tokenized stocks from holding an ape or a Pudgy or fill in the blank. My whole point, like, I don't know how I can be more clear on this, is I want to see NFT PFP brands bring back on-chain experimentation, bring back on-chain revenues, and do something with those revenues that benefit your supporters, your holders. It sounds like I'm talking crazy when I say this in 2026, but this was the entire space in 21, 22. It's what led to so much excitement. This is what led to so much PvP. And when someone new did something, instead of like, oh, that's not us, we're way different than that, we're not going to do that. They said, okay, how can we do our thing like that? How can we put our spin on it and our twist? It's clearly worked. Oh, Apes dropped a fungible token. It led to a 6-figure airdrop for all their holders. How can we do our fungible token? Like that's my point, is it is an NFT at the core that you can build whatever you want on it. Third parties can build on top of it. We got so far away from that. It's as if a lot of the NFT PFP brands got scared about delivering some sort of utility, because if the announcement didn't pump the floor price, or people didn't like the utility, if the utility wasn't something they could flip for tens of thousands of dollars, they got FUD. They're like, oh, it's easier just not to do anything. You know where it first hit me? And this is like a real one. I didn't think I'd be talking about Nina Chanel's Super World or whatever her collection was. When they did that for Punks holders, and Punks holders got up in arms over it. This is awful. How dare you? That was like, okay, never mind. These people don't want utility. We just want to be a digital collectible. No, some uppity punk holders that are already worth 8, 9, 10 figures, they didn't want utility. They just want you to leave their punks alone, but punks are in a class of themselves. Most other NFT PFP collections were built and have had success because of on-chain experimentation and utility driven to their holders. All that being said, without further ado, I've kept him on the ice way too long. Go ahead real quick, Joey, and I got a simple farmer.
Real quick, if the PvP is who is experimenting, who is building, who is doing new cool shit, I agree with that. But if it's just looking at floor price PvP, I don't think it's
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not saying just floor price. But yeah. Floor price is the best, unfortunately, like it or not, it's the best indicator on what we have to, how's the market responding to something. Floor price and volume, and it's got both right now. Without further ado, Simple Farmer, the man of the hour. I'm kind of disappointed. I actually put on sleeves, and I was like, you know what? I probably should have left my Gymshark tank on for the show this morning, because I thought we might get a shirtless Simple Farmer. Is this the new, like, is this like, oh, StonkBrokers are now like, you're getting, shout outs from Robinhood Chain, you're on Amsom's radar. Is this like, did we see the last of the shirtless Simple Farmer now that you've tasted success in crypto and Web3?
Hopefully not, right? Just leading into the professionalism a little bit.
Good to see you. Looking good.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
A lot to get into. I don't know how much you caught of the conversation we were having with Joey and Machiavelli, and I went on a little bit, probably too much of a monologue this morning, but I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the StonkBrokers ecosystem. It's hard for me to convey my excitement in words, though, because it's easy for me to say I'm excited and people just point at the floor price. Oh, you're excited because number go up. Well, I'd be lying if I wasn't excited about that, but that's not at the root of my excitement. I think it's correlation, causation. I think the floor price is up because of the on-chain experimentation, because of, the StonkBrokers are out there collecting real RWAs, collecting stocks and more. And what really got me sold on the excitement and the fact that this ecosystem is really onto something, and it's going to be around. It's not just going to be a flash in the pan. It's not going to go to 6.9 ETH and then back to 0 in 2 months, is because of the ecosystem. And that's a lot to get into today. I want to make sure you get ample time to talk about anything you'd like to talk about, anything you've got coming. I know there's already some new exciting stuff coming in this week, which is also something that is leading into the excitement. Is almost every day there's something new coming out of this ecosystem, both from yourself, and then what I also want to highlight a little bit is the third parties, is whether it's, and I know you're probably coming in a challenging spot already to single anyone out, and I know you don't want to play favoritism, but the few that have caught my radar, but I'm still on the silence, like Pit Boys and Mind Boys, and this building inside of the StonkBrokers ecosystem is what's got me so excited. It gives me, dare I say, early Bored Ape Yacht Club vibes. It gives me early Web3 vibes, where part of the excitement in the Bored Ape Yacht Club in 21 wasn't just the war on the floor. It wasn't just, flipping 1 ETH. It wasn't just flipping punks. It was dozens, maybe hundreds of fellow holders that were building inside that ecosystem. Some with the IP, some not even necessarily with the IP, just building in the ecosystem because it was a community of builders. And I think from my perspective, that's what I see happening with StonkBrokers is you've attracted a community of builders. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, we look at the basis of stockbrokers. First of all, it's like a permissionless technology. And so then you ask, like, how do you scale that? And essentially, I think decentralized, blockchain scaling looks like this. Blockchain is like Roblox already. It's baked in, actually. What is lacking is like distribution. And I think with stockbrokers, we've gained so much traction. We have this NFT community too that gives massive voice to all of the projects that come out of, stockbrokers, special projects, that we can essentially be the distribution rails. I don't think in crypto necessarily we have a lack of creativity or good developers. I don't think we have a lack of good teams. I think we have a lack of proper distribution funnels. I think we have a lot of great devs that'll do like 1 or 2 projects, not get enough action on the timeline or support from KOLs, and they kind of fall apart. Probably 2 or 3 projects before they would hit gold. And so if we can kind of speed run that by pushing them through the stockbrokers, special projects launches, I think it can be beneficial for the whole space. And at the same time, all of those launches having 50% LP pairing with stockbrokers at launch, very similar to what Virtuals did well on Base, is I think a great scaling model that's a win-win for the community. So we get the situation where people don't really get bored because they've always got something new to play with. And that something new doesn't always necessarily have to come from myself, right? I can focus on macro level infrastructure and those distribution channels while we can have a lot of projects come out of the ecosystem and kind of push more cream to the top. Like I think lately in crypto, we've been pushing like a lot of garbage to the top, and not talking about NFTs specifically, like a lot of meme coins get listed on centralized exchanges. That's what I consider the top of the funnel right now. But go ahead.
It makes a lot of sense. I guess my first question is, why would someone want to build in the stockbrokers ecosystem versus just going and doing their own thing, self-contained, outside of the ecosystem? What makes it a, like you said, it's getting paired with the stockbroker token. Why would I want to do that versus, I don't know, USDC or fill in the blank, another token? What makes it advantageous to build in and with stockbrokers?
Yeah, because then at that point, you've got a network of individuals who are these stockbrokers holders, who are your distribution channel. Without a user base, without distribution, we have a lot of great fancy tech that nobody uses. Look, Arbitrum One, for example, is very much like a tech blockchain, but they don't have a lot of users. They have a lot of cool products come through. Some of the products that drop on Arb1 on Solana, for example, would be, $500 million runners, but they don't get many users. And so this is kind of bridging the gap between the two of those things, with having the fun part and the fun side with NFT communities connect with the technology layer. And I think obviously people can just do their own thing. It would take way more effort. If you come in now and you have a new X account and nobody knows about you, you could build a top 3 product in crypto, and I guarantee it'll take you 2 or 3 years to succeed. I guarantee it.
If at all.
Yeah, if at all, if you don't quit beforehand. With stockbrokers, the idea is we can catch these super talented people super early, essentially draft gems, like they do with soccer, like they do with basketball. You catch them while they're young, you bring them in up and through the eco, you make sure they don't fall victim to scams and difficult situations, because a lot of new developers fall into those traps too. They'll have a slightly incorrect mechanism on their token launch. They'll have slightly poor marketing or something like that. They'll make a dumb post, and they create these issues for themselves, and they die before they even get started. With this, we can be a real incubator for new financial technologies. And that's one thing I agree with Joey on big time, is that I think a comparison between NFT communities is a little apples and oranges, because stockbrokers is very much like a financial technology with the face of an NFT. But at the same time, I think that the stockbrokers infrastructure is something that the major NFT companies should look into, because their IP level efforts would translate much better to their NFT floor price if they had this type of infrastructure.
So was the incubator concept, was this always in the cards for Stonkbroker? Like pre-mint, were you thinking this is where you're heading with this, or did this come to be after mint out and early success? Where did this, were you expecting Pit Boys and Mine Boys? And I saw someone just tagged Manser in the chat. Like, were you expecting this much this fast, or is this kind of taking you by surprise?
I'm not taken by surprise that it's done well. I mean, I think maybe it's nice that it's happened relatively fast. Like I said, I usually expect in crypto that things are a lot harder than they should be, and that's just part of the game. But with StonkBrokers, once I realized that we've achieved distribution, which I believe we have at this point, now we can funnel that into creating value through new technologies. And so we prop up these unicorns. And so the launch pad itself becomes a much stronger platform. Now it has much higher potential firing power. And that potential revenue, as well as the tokens being paired to the actual stockbroker, is very lucrative for the people who have activated the brokers. And, it's just my responsibility to audible and just make smart decisions on the go.
I love it. I love it. You talk about distribution, and Simple Farmer isn't singling anyone out here. I am. I'm just going to use some examples. It doesn't mean that one is better than another, and it's not that they're getting all the love and attention. It's just what's hit my feed, what's hit my timeline. One is Manser, as I just mentioned, the slop father. And we don't need to get into all the specifics. I'll just briefly, high level, excited to announce he's building Manser, the Jupiter Robinhood chain, in partnership with Clutch Markets. And, Chain Mansers at XYZ goes on to talk a little bit about, the mechanics, the burn. But the thing I want to point out is this post got, and this isn't a knock on Slopfather at all, but this post got nearly 200,000 views, 836 likes, 205 reposts, 279 bookmarks, 177 engagements. When you talk about distribution, that's part of it, right? Like, might have Slopfather had a post that got 800,000 views at launch without that partnership with Clutch and Song? Maybe, but I doubt it. And again, I'm not taking a shot at the Slopfather at all. I think, to your point, you do have distribution now. You do have the attention of the market, and therefore it's enabling others to not just build on top of what you've built, but leverage the distribution that you've gained.
Yeah, I mean, look, and people are front running speculative interest, essentially, right? They believe that there's going to be a lot of speculative interest for something tied to stockbrokers early, and that's great. Of course, from my end, what I'm responsible for is making sure that speculative interest translates to value by providing them unique unicorn opportunities. These things that have the chance at a very high ceiling. Now, the execution of that lands with the actual third-party partner, which are these individuals doing the special projects. I told Mike I'd like to see him do a special project because I think he's a seasoned developer. He has a lot of experience. He's had huge successes and failures, and so he's learned a lot. And so I think he's ready for that. I thought Uncle Mac was ready for that. And it's important that with these new moments, when we bring them up, we give them that high ceiling potential, not only for stockbrokers, but just for that process in general. Because essentially, we've seen other situations where people will see the first token come out, and then they'll see, okay, this is just a derivative of that, derivative of that, derivative of that. It's like, that's not what we're doing. We're incubating new financial technologies. And so Michael is working on a system that's going to provide great token swapping infrastructure on Robinhood chain. And so this type of infrastructure is super important because then you can tap into revenue feeds from meme coin launches, stock token swaps, utility token swaps, and give people different execution strategies on conducting those swaps. That's a huge revenue source. And if he can tap into that, he can have essentially an on-chain business. And then he's distributing that business's value through his community, similar to how stockbrokers is doing, but obviously not through stock tokens. I think with Manser it'll be interesting because they'll be adopting the OG Anvil AMM model. And so this will be another proof of concept of what happens with NFTs when you give them proper scaling infrastructure with the Anvil AMM and the token essentially being bootstrapped to that NFT.
Yeah, I agree with Frosty. Smart. And we talked earlier about like your on-chain experimentation, and that while to some stockbrokers might seem like an overnight success, it's clearly not the case. Like, how long ago did you first launch Anvil?
Yeah, so the Anvil has been live for about 3 months, but the whole process of getting and understanding NFTs, understanding distribution and shipping products has been like 3 years.
And I mean, for this, that's probably the first time they're hearing about Anvil. Do you want to like high level, what even is Anvil, and why is it relevant? Why does it matter to stockbrokers and the third party builders?
Yeah, so on my time at ApeCo, I saw a lot of NFT projects, and obviously I was looking at even like the blue chip IP NFTs on ETH mainnet, and I saw a big discrepancy between what memes were able to achieve in terms of market cap and what NFTs were able to achieve. And my thesis was always essentially that it's an infrastructure problem, not a quality of work or delivery problem. And so what I wanted to do was take these fractionalization models, and there's been many fractionalization models, but I essentially thought they've all been done slightly incorrectly from a DeFi perspective. Like people would create mintable tokens, which is a big red flag for centralized exchanges. People would create 404s, which also can't reach centralized exchanges. There was nobody who had really successfully achieved a model where you have a clean ERC20 and a clean ERC721C, and then have all those functionalities happen in smart contracts that exist in between the layers. And so that's what I built with Anvil, knowing that if an NFT collection can do well enough and start to get into the process of getting traction, getting listed by centralized exchanges, you can get floors on NFTs that are higher than anything you've seen since like 2021. Essentially by changing the infrastructure. So these people can continue to do their work IP side, and that will actually translate to their floor price much better.
I'm really thinking through my words this morning, but I know you said you don't want to necessarily add fuel to the PvP fire. You're very different. You're an ecosystem. It's an incubator. It's a launch pad. It's not just an IP NFT, PFP NFT. That said, my question would be, how could, forget like what Uncle Mac, by the way, I pinned Uncle Mac's post up top, as well as Slop Fathers, if you want to go see what they're doing to build with this ecosystem. But for a second, let's forget about someone new that hasn't launched yet. Would it make sense for an existing NFT collection to work with this ecosystem to leverage Anvil? Like how does that play out?
Yeah, I think teams that have ample liquidity, especially, I think the Anvil AMM is their best possible path to achieving growth, and then having an infrastructure layer that allows them to scale as they continue their work on, Web 2 and IP side, 100%.
So kind of like to Joey's earlier point, these are very different. StonkBrokers isn't just a IP PFP NFT collection. You're building this infrastructure, these financial products. Others that are building the IP PFP NFTs can also leverage this and take advantage of this. To your point, though, it's whether again, it's not about, I'm earning stock tokens from my fill in the blank NFT PFP collection, rather leveraging on-chain protocols to generate on-chain revenues, on-chain fees that then somehow, one way or another, there's a variety of different ways you can leverage those fees, but then drive that back into the ecosystem to support it, right?
Yeah, and I was making a joke yesterday. Somebody was talking about what would StonkBrokers do if StonkBrokers bought OpenSea. I said we try to get as many collections as possible to deploy to Anvil to essentially have a token that is paired to their NFT. We'd make a ton of money off token swapping, and then those NFTs would be paired to this token. We'd essentially use a piece of our fees on every Anvil activated token every day to get those tokens listed on centralized exchanges. Once they're listed on centralized exchanges, obviously their floor price would increase in coordination with the token. We'd make way more on volume, because you see the volume on StonkBrokers. Mm-hmm. A lot of that volume is because of the Anvil. That's because of the token. And that would happen across all these collections. We would 10x our revenue, and then I would sell it back to the previous owner at a 10x price. So that would be the plan.
Some are saying I maybe have kicked you some softballs. So some hard questions. How does this sustain? How is this still relevant? And forget going up from here. Forget flipping punks or a $200 million market cap on the token or $1 billion market cap. Forget all that. Let's just say, how does it even sustain where it's at currently? What prevents it from speed running to zero and the space at large, the market moving on to the next new shiny toy? What maintains its relevancy 2 months out?
Yeah, I think it's that decentralized building process, slow and iterative, being patient as well. One of the important things is that it's built on crypto rails, so we're very, very contingent on like the price action of Ethereum right now. Slowly, I would love to see the majority of the LP on StonkBrokers become like Nvidia paired, or paired with like Tesla or Apple and Amazon and stuff like that. just so that we have more of a hedge against crypto itself. Because I think that's the biggest danger to crypto companies at
Mhm.
large, is like you get into bear markets, nobody wants to use your products, everyone's just hodling USDC. So if you can essentially become paired with these real world assets instead, I think that's a much better way to move forward.
I haven't thought this until you just said that, but like I'm not the liquidity provider expert by any means, but I've messed around. I've LP'd a little bit from time to time, and often, not often, but I guess often as of late, is one or both of those tokens they're extremely volatile in crypto, right? And often, while it's exciting when they're going up, if you're out of range, like impermanent loss is real, and often a quote unquote safe pair might be a token you're excited about with USDC or USDT, but there's limitations in that, right? Like you're much more of in the DeFi streets, obviously, than I. Help me understand, like if I'm providing liquidity, if I'm talking about USDC and Hyperliquid pair, why am I pairing Hyperliquid with forget StonkBroker, but pairing, well, maybe that's one question, but then the second would be, why would you want to pair a fungible token, a crypto token, with a TradFi stock on chain, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same reason I think people enjoy like the tokens that are paired to Sol or Ethereum, is that they're leveraged bets on the base asset. It says that if the base asset performs, all you need is net positive buy pressure on the main asset, and you get a price increase long term. Also, I just think that is the future. We're going to see way more tokens that pair with RWAs instead of crypto tokens that are built on crypto rails. It's honestly a better pathway. And in
Can
terms
you
of
do it off chain?
yeah,
Could you?
Yeah, of course, you can do it on Robinhood Chain now. I have some
off chain.
some
Is it possible to pair? Yeah. In a non-crypto world, is it even possible to do this?
I no, because I mean these
I
are
don't think so,
crypto
right?
tokens, right? I mean it's different. It's not liquidity book. It's not liquidity pools. Mostly it's order book based. And then so you have people, they trade options, TradFi people as well. It's a bit different in crypto because we're working with liquidity pools as our primary technology for all of these holdings. But it creates for interesting situations, and you can do interesting things. So for example, in TradFi, you can't do what you can do on crypto rails. With stock tokens on Robinhood Chain, if you want to trade options, you can earn LP fees on your options and premiums and dividends at the same time. And so you essentially can't get LP fees in Web2 real world outside of crypto. The additional LP fee layer is a major, major substance. It's something that is like one of the largest markets in the world. And that's why I think that actually stock tokens on chain will have way more options trading than they will perpetuals trading. And that'll be our first example of large scale adoption of options trading on chain. The question is really, how do you make that experience feel? Can that experience be simple enough for our, classic trench degen?
I mean, Maida brings up a point, a question, maybe a concern here. So this is only good as long as the stock market keeps cooking. When the stock market falls, we need to be able to disconnect from stocks and off to the crypto side. Like, stocks also can be volatile, but I think throughout history, any period of time, if you zoom out just a little bit, stocks are up. Like, I mean, double digit for the most part, S&P 500 even. Might individual stocks go down? Yeah, sure. But so far, it's your blue chip stocks that have pretty incredible track records. And while they might dip 10, 15, 20%, most of them, if not all, they're never going to zero, right? There's always, whereas a new hot pair in crypto, we've seen many of them go to zero, or be extremely, extremely volatile. Kaptoshi here, is it possible, might we see a pair with not just individual stock tokens, but with an index fund? And not trying to get you to front run or leak any alpha here, but it's a fair take by Kev. Is this something that's maybe on the roadmap or something you're thinking about?
Well, so look, I think if you take a crypto token and you pair initial LP with 10 different stocks instead of pairing with ETH, that's essentially an index fund.
Making your own index fund, right?
Right. The only issue is then people look at Dex Screener and they say, why isn't there one large LP pool connected to ETH? And then the trenchers kind of don't run with it so much. So there's education. that has to be done here. We're also a bit of a step ahead too. With stock tokens are like this great technology because they're self-multiplying. This is a really big deal. The token itself multiplies based on dividends, based on revenue from these companies in the real world. That's a really big deal. We don't have any other assets like that in crypto. Essentially, we have assets that generate revenue and then they do like buybacks and burns and stuff like that. But this self-multiplying token based on revenue is, I think, extremely clever. And having that revenue be from facets that aren't crypto based is excellent. So StonkBrokers, for example, are like a hedge against crypto itself.
G says StonkBroker / NVIDIA pair, please. I think you might have like today. I know my StonkBrokers are not just NVIDIA and Apple and Amazon, but then you've recently turned on Silver and SpaceX and Google and Costco, Microsoft, and more. Is this? I'm going slow here because I'm not sure if this was public, what is coming next for StonkBrokers, or if it's something you're prepared to announce today. Is that in the wild yet? Kind of, we traded a DM earlier. One of the things that might be on the near term roadmap is that live yet, or has it at least been announced yet, or no?
Yeah. So by end of day today, essentially you'll be a broker, like for real. You'll essentially be able to pick which stock tokens you want to target with your distributions that are coming through. You know, so if you're really bullish SpaceX, NVIDIA, essentially that can be what your stockbroker accrues. If you want to do a mix of tokens, that you can do that as well. And so that's something that'll be out shortly. And I think that's fun, right? That
Very
leads
cool.
to a lot better discussions. I'd much rather be discussing which stocks we should be purchasing rather than, you know, what some person tweeted this morning.
So will that be limited to Stonk Daddy is the new handle. Will that be limited to? I assume limited to what stocks are tokenized on Robinhood chain. Is that accurate? And
yes.
What, any further limitations, or will basically anyone be able to select any tokenized stock that's available via Robinhood?
Well, technically, long term, you'll be able to select any CA. For the time period, we're going to focus just on stock tokens because that's in Robinhood's ethos, and we want to make sure that we're pushing their primary product, especially if we're an incubator on their chain, right? And so that's why I would love to see that the products that come through have some type of correlation to stock tokens. Like even we had DERP come through, generates random numbers. Okay, we're putting those random numbers into a stock gachapon, essentially. And so we want to continue iterating on that process because there is a lot of unexplored, I think, technologies that can be built upon that process. And if you listen to Vlad Tenev a couple of days ago, he said their focus as a chain is going to be on delivering more RWAs, more and more. So then I would love to get to the point where we can, like, stockbrokers can collectively select maybe like a hotel and own a hotel together or something like that. You know, this is just a theory at this point, but I think that would be awesome. More and more of these RWAs coming on chain. That is the future of crypto. That is how we scale to the next level. It just makes all of our assets stronger. And ETH is a way stronger asset if it's paired with a ton of NVIDIA on chain. And that's beneficial for everybody.
You joke about hotel. I probably shortly after getting into crypto, I wanted to own at least a fractionalized home on chain. One of the first pitch decks I got in 2021 was someone wanting to go basically open up an Airbnb resort, but do so on chain and fractionalize it. Are we getting closer with Robinhood chain? Is this part of, it's, I think, well documented now that you were in the Robinhood, incubator, or the test net rather, I should say, and you've been working with that team, building out for a while. You've long been an Arbitrum bull. Was part of it due to their focus on RWAs? Was it simply, they were the new shiny toy, they were the new chain coming, so it made sense for attention and distribution? I don't remember if we talked about that when we first had you on pre-StonkBrokers minting, but why Robinhood chain? Is it that simple that it is the RWA focus, or is there other things there that we may not be seeing yet?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, they're the people who are the most focused on that and on delivering RWAs on chain in an intelligent way. Stock tokens right now are paired 1-for-1 with these securities off chain, and that technology where the token itself is self-multiplying based on real world revenue. I mean, that correlates easy to like rental properties, right? Think about that. If your rental property brings in 100K this month, say it's a hotel, you just take that revenue and you translate it to on-chain tokens, and you have those tokens be self-multiplying on-chain. This is new grounds really for crypto. And I think more people should be paying attention to it, and more people should be building with it. And people want to do that should come through and talk to StonkBrokers.
Agreed. Do it for me, because I'm in. Let me know when you're ready to go live with that. It's easier said than done, especially when you talk about real estate, because there is other paperwork, regulatory stuff. Like it's challenging to do on the real and where people are based, right? Like that is also a big deal when it comes to real estate. But it seems like I truly believe, like, at some point in our lives, nearly every real world asset is going to be on chain one way or another. It allows you to do more with the asset. It's just a better product, from cars to real estate. And if you doubt this, like, go try to get a loan. Assuming you got a paid off car, go try to get a loan on it. Go try to pull some liquidity out of your car that's paid off. You can do it in the real world. It's just going to take you a heck of a lot more than a few seconds and a few clicks on chain. I just think go ahead.
Yeah, and that just made me think, like, and that's one of the reasons the Clarity Act passing is so important, because the Clarity Act, like, specifically mentions Uniswap Labs, for example, and it heavily protects DeFi protocols on chain. So you think about it, there is actually already NFTs that earn revenue from stock tokens besides StonkBrokers. So StonkBrokers are an NFT that earns revenue based on AMM swaps. There's another thing that does it too. It's Uniswap. Uniswap LP positions are NFTs that earn revenue based on AMM swaps. The Clarity Act protects these kind of DeFi protocols. So that would be a major step forward for United States legislation moving in this direction. And if you've been paying attention to, like, Arbitrum One, even though they're not doing the sexy stuff, they're over there in DC, man. They're rubbing elbows with politicians, making sure this type of legislation gets passed.
So I guess then I can deduce from that, like, you're pro Clarity Act. You'd like to see this thing get passed?
Yeah, I mean, it's a step in the right direction for sure.
Agreed. While I know there's some smart people that have pushed back, or it's not in perfect form, I still net out, I think it's a positive step in the right direction. And I think it helps a lot of this stuff, a lot of this on-chain, especially in the DeFi world, continue to thrive and potentially even grow into areas beyond what we are today. And it's a valid, like, while I've known Uniswap, all those positions are NFTs, I forget about it. I don't think about it. Even, it's just like, I don't think a lot of people even think about NFTs being tied into that, their Uniswap LP positions ever, especially those who don't use the platform. But I said I'd hit you with a few hard questions to be fair to all parties and those who are. No, I actually really haven't even seen any FUD, not any well thought out FUD regarding StonkBrokers. It's been, this isn't going to last. We've seen pumps like this before. I'd argue we haven't seen a pump like this in years, not in the NFTs anyways. But one of the questions or concerns that gets brought up is the regulatory stuff. Are you able to even speak to US versus non-US? Like, is that, someone earlier in the chat mentioned, like, anything tied with stocks in the US is cause for concern. Any comments or even answers to those questions or concerns?
Yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to swap for stock tokens if you're in the United States. This is geo-blocked as well on our website. The important thing to know is that my partner is Ernest Lee from board counsel, and from the legal side, they've been actively working really closely with, and they have a patent actually on, for example, sharing NFT royalties with NFT holders in a legal manner. And that's what they're doing with Unvault. And that part of the process allows us to do some of the things that we're doing with StonkBrokers as well. So during this change, where you'll actually be selecting which stock token you want to receive, part of that process is providing some of that regulatory clarity as well. And you'll see that within the terms and conditions.
Makes sense. Well, it makes sense. And I also applaud you for experimenting and taking shots, and while seeking legal counsel and doing things, proper in the right way, hence the geo blocks, etc. I also appreciate the experimentation. I appreciate you taking some shots, and I don't want to call it a gray area per se, but fungible tokens were a gray area. I'm old enough to remember Yuga getting a Wells notice for, launching ApeCoin. And now it's like, the freaking president launched a meme coin. Like, it's a very different regulatory environment, at least in the US, than it was in 21. Yet it's still, there is still some cloudiness. There's not a there's not a I guess a playbook per se, or a very cut and dry rule book. It's rather there is some gray area, and I think part of what we need is entrepreneurs. We need leaders that are pushing the proverbial envelope a little bit and experimenting, trying new stuff. So yeah, thanks for pushing the experimentation.
And huge credit to Robinhood there too. I mean, I think the more you see big, Web 2 companies, you can call them now. Robinhood is a Web 2 and Web 3 company using DeFi technologies to make their processes more efficient and more lucrative. The more I think you'll see legislative adoption too, because I think, that financial pressure carries forth to politicians fairly quickly. So I think you're going to see more and more companies adopt these DeFi models to make their systems functional. More and more people are going to be using DeFi processes without knowing they're using them. And that's just going to be better and better for, regulatory stuff.
Yeah. I mean, good time to, as always, speak to your attorney, speak to your accountants. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm simply hosting a space with someone who's not based in the US, but tokenized stocks are very real. Robinhood is a publicly traded company. I don't think tokenized stocks are going anywhere. How you can interact with tokenized stocks, might that landscape change a little bit? It could, but it also could change in, we could lead to more experimentation. What else? What else? I know we talked about being able to select your own. That's coming potentially as early as in today. I know there's also a lot of stuff you've been working on. Are you able to share what's next, or what else we might have to, not that we don't already have a lot, but what else might we have to look forward to on this StonkBrokers roadmap?
Yeah, so we definitely want to get in the launchpad game in terms of having people be able to launch like classic memes and bonding curve style tokens as well through StonkBrokers. However, I want to make it like a unicorn of a launchpad essentially. And I think currently, if you look at meme coins, it's like a very low RTP experience. Most people lose a lot of money on meme coins, and that's, I think, also an infrastructural issue. The way that problem is solved, in my opinion, is by bringing VRNG into the equation, essentially on-chain randomization. And so with the Stonk launcher, the StonkBrokers Launchpad, which is going to also push fees towards our stock booster, there's essentially going to be a pool from those fees that's accruing. And so right now, for example, Pawns uses part of those fees to buy back and burn their token. Like, that's one mechanism. With StonkBrokers, those fees are going to accrue in a pool, and then there's going to be a clock in button once the pool fills with enough funds. So say, like, just for example, $100,000. Somebody will be able to clock in, and via on-chain randomization, one of the tokens that come out of the launchpad will essentially get hit with a $100,000 buy from those fees. And so that's going to be something that's cyclical and is going to happen as often as that fills up and again and again. And so then we're going to see some really fun candles and fun charts on Dex Screener.
It's exciting. I think Proof Alpha DJ can attest. Before you launched the broker box, I said on the show, I said, gotchas are taking over. The gotcha mechanic is going to be everywhere. I said today, you're going to see it at sporting events. You're going to go to a will call and you could buy a $10 nosebleed, or for $20, you could maybe get a 50-yard line seat. And if you lose, you still get the $10 nosebleed. I said, someone's going to be doing this on chain. I said, we might even see it with stock certificates on chain, with tokenized stocks on chain. I did not know that. I did not have any alpha. It was purely a guess and a hot take. I'm not an insider. I didn't know anything that the public didn't know. I just speculated that it might be something we see in StonkBrokers, and sure enough, the broker box is live. I do want to make sure, not only talking about forward-looking products and what might have to come, what might be on the come, but tell us about BrokerBox. For those that missed that announcement or haven't seen it yet, I did pin up a post on BrokerBox up top. But what is the BrokerBox, and whether someone's holding a StonkBroker or not, why might they want to pay attention or give it a spin?
Yeah, so BrokerBox has been live for like not even 72 hours, something like that, about 3 days now. And we've had 4,000 plays on it, so 4,000 spins essentially on the BrokerBox. And it's powered by Derp, which was our first special projects launch. So I was like, I need to get one special projects launch through now, because I need this piece of infra to deliver this this concept that I thought would be interesting. where you have these stock certificates that are essentially filled with stock tokens that, like we said earlier, are self-multiplying and earn dividends. And actually, a community member yesterday sent me like 1 share of NVIDIA stock worth like roughly $200 as a stock certificate. It's like, this is maybe like one of my favorite NFTs ever. It's just an NFT in my wallet holding these stocks. And the way that the wallet that's connected with these NFTs works is that you can't partially withdraw the stock tokens. You can only completely withdraw the tokens. And when you withdraw them, the NFT burns itself. So the certificate gets essentially redeemed fully on chain. This is important because if I didn't do this construction that way, people could withdraw half, list it on OpenSea, and then sell somebody a half empty stock certificate, essentially. With that mechanism, it's a real game changer. And then I wanted to layer on an additional experience where, people maybe don't want to play gotcha, don't want to do any form of gambling, where they could just buy a certificate and send it as a gift. And, gifts on chain are cool, but this becomes a really good Web2 product when we make it operational simply through email. So with BrokerBox, you can essentially send your wife $1,000 worth of Amazon stock on chain to her email address. She opens an email. She gets it from StonkBrokers. She clicks it, goes to the StonkBrokers website. She gets a code to her email to claim. It generates a preview wallet, and she gets that stock certificate in her wallet.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I've gotten gifted a lot of NFTs. Some of them are actually, up in value. A lot go to zero. I don't think NVIDIA stock is going to zero. Maybe, but it would be if you want to gift NFTs, go. If you want to gift me any NFTs, go give the BrokerBox a pull. It also, in all seriousness, it's just one of many things. And I think I every time you talk about whether it's the BrokerBox or, we do have Mac joined us on stage here. If you don't mind, I would love to get Mac in here to talk a little bit about Derp and why he chose StonkBrokers to partner with, why he decided to help with this launch. But it's back to what I said earlier. It seems like since you've launched, a week hasn't went by where there's not been some new development, something new that's been shipped. Probably both ways, internally with you turning on new features, new utility, as well as community members. And what I maybe not, but what I get really excited is I do believe that's self-perpetuated. I do believe that success begets success, and people see the success Derp is having, and they've got an idea. They've been thinking about something, doing something on chain, maybe with RWAs, and like, okay, I could go fight this uphill battle and try to go get my own distribution, or I can partner with the thriving ecosystem and launch there. It is really what gets me so excited about this ecosystem is not just what you're building, no offense, but it's what you're building and the people that you've attracted to build with you. Do you mind if we bring Mac in here to get him to talk a little bit about why build with StonkBrokers?
No, please do. And just to answer what you said, is like, that's the key is with crypto, with everything right now, everyone has AI. People can build things in a short period of time. People who are really good at AI can build things really fast. There is no moat to product anymore. Now, there may be a short-term moat to new inventions, but the long-term moat is distribution. And so with StonkBrokers, we have IP, but that IP is technology.
I love it. Mac, GM, appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on the early success with Derp. Same thing I asked Simple Farmer earlier. Were you expecting this when you launched? Is this exceeding your expectations? Like, this is about in line, but look out what's coming next. GM, sir, appreciate you joining us.
GM, thanks for having me. Can you hear me? Am I doing the voice?
Yep.
Voice making?
We got you loud and clear.
Sweet. Sometimes it just doesn't look like it's doing anything. Yeah, on the first question, I knew it was smart when I came up with it. Like, I've done mining before. We did mining on 8chain. I've used Mineboy as like a server authoritative mining thing, but to like dial in the idea to be fully on chain and really like difficult to mess with, like it's really difficult to mess with. But to then also be able to like productize some feature of it, like that was like the light bulb moment, and just it's definitely, the success of it is definitely mind-blowing. I sent Simple a message yesterday just like saying like thank you for like supporting the idea, like supporting it like straight away, and then supporting it like to actually be the first of those incubated projects, special projects on StonkBroker and Clutch. So yeah, I knew it had legs, but the success is still a little bit mind-boggling. We'll go with that one. That's where I'll stop it on that.
That's fair. That's fair. So I don't want to assume that everyone's seen everything that you've built, that's familiar with the Stonk pits, familiar with Derp. Can you give us the high level, the TLDR, and I think one thing that is from StonkBrokers to Stonk Pit, I agree with Simple Farm earlier. It's not your typical NFT PFP collection that's just building for IP. Like there's a lot more to it, and it does take a little bit of research, a little bit of understanding. Some people don't read. So for those that aren't going to read a thread, can you give us the TLDR? What even is the Stonk Pit? What is Derp, and how in the world does it even tie into StonkBrokers?
Yeah, so the Stonk Pit is a proof. Every time I try and talk in a space, my missus calls me. Literally just as I'm about to launch into something, and she'll probably call again in a second. Maybe she'll know that I've turned off. The Stonk Pit is a proof of work SHA-256 in browser mining. It does real mining in your browser. This seems to be the most like prevalent question I keep getting asked. Like, if I close the browser, does it stop? Yes, because you need your browser on to run the SHA workers, which do all of the work to produce your hashes and find valid hashes and submit valid hashes, which then feeds into something called the conductor. And the conductor is a smart contract that takes requests for disordered numbers and charges a fee for it. And the two systems work to help each other. So you mine, which produces the entropy, which we sell as a product, and the fees from selling the product come back into the merchants, which back the price of the mined token. And those will back it in perpetuity upwards forever. Like the coin can now not go to zero ever, essentially.
So why build with StonkBrokers? Why part of the StonkBroker? What does that enable that you weren't maybe able to do without it?
Because Simple Farmer's a genius, and he's got that same kind of mentality that I feel I have, which is just to like keep cooking, like just like come up with the idea, like nail it down, execute it, and add it into the roster of things that can be done with the thing. And so yeah, it made sense, and I think you touched on it just when you kind of like introduced the question. You know, why try and fight for more awareness of something when you can just fold something in? Like StonkBroker is categorically the biggest collection on Robinhood. So why try and like compete with that when you can work with it and benefit from all of the sort of back and forth, the knowledge, the communication with the person who's created that? And there were a few points in creating Derp and Stonk Pit where I was set on an idea, and then I told the idea to Simple Farmer, and then Simple Farmer says, why don't you do this? And then, it's the thing that I'd not thought of. And two minds in this case were definitely better than one for like these little like nuances of like, okay, so someone can do this, someone can't do this unless they do this. And trying to work out that kind of like playing field of the protocol wouldn't have happened as well or as smoothly without Simple Farmer. So work with him because he's smart.
Man, makes me think that Simple Farmer, this is like, we threw out the word incubator earlier, but it sounds to me like you're actually working with those that are building your ecosystem, not just more than just distribution, as we might have alluded to earlier today.
Yeah, I mean, just experience working for a Web3 company and trying tokens and then seeing tokens, and then even watching the ApeCoin token as a whole, you see things happen. So for example, with like layer 0 multi-chain tokens, I've been at war with layer 0 for a long time, since the first time I used layer 0 to create a multi-chain token. And then when I launched that token on, I believe it was Solana, like 2 years ago, as a multi-chain, it showed a mintable functionality on Deck Screener. And so the token was dead in the water for the team that I was working for at that time. This was well before ApeCo. And I was like, why would they do this? Like, why would they build infrastructure in a way that doesn't translate to scaling properly. Because if you're using this type of infrastructure, if you have something clever, it's terrible to die on a hill of like one small error in just how you're setting up your token, for example. And that's what I said with derp, for example. I said derp cannot be a mintable token. I don't want to see mintable tokens. The number one rule in DeFi in 2021, when we would read white papers, and that would be bullish, and that's why a token would go up in value, was that the token cannot have custom smart contract functionalities. It has to be a clean ERC20. It can't have taxes on the token. It can't be mintable. Why? Because it'll never get picked up by centralized exchanges, and that nerfs its ability to scale. You've essentially given the token a ceiling by creating custom functionalities within the token contract. And so when you instead have cool processes like, mining on chain to create entropy, having that infrastructure so that you can scale properly now as you grow and maybe get picked up by a whatever, Bybit, Binance, Coinbase, whatever, one day, whatever centralized exchange, you want to make sure you have that effective capability going into it on day one. Otherwise, you're pouring hours and days of your life pushing this project that has like a nerfed ceiling. And all of the people speculating on your token too, you're capping the top, essentially.
J Dunk gets it in the chat. I'm not sure, because it's, again, new, somewhat complex, maybe different. So I'm just going to read J Dunk's comment here, because he said the fact that the first project out of the incubator has VRNG for the broker boxes is amazing. Simple Farmer is looking for innovation to bring it to the platform, Epic AF. And I do think that is not putting Mac on a pedestal or choosing favorites, but the reality is it's not just another random project, right? It's actually, in this case, something that you're utilizing for the broker box, right? And could you build that out yourself? Maybe, but why, when you've got talented, techs within the community looking to do something and willing to collaborate with you? It's like, while maybe I came in too hot trying to stoke the flames of the PvP fires once again, the reality is collaboration is very real in crypto. It's very real on chain. It's part of things that on-chain tech unlocks because of the permissionless nature of it. And again, when I likened it to early Bored Ape Yacht Club vibes, yeah, there was PvP back then. Like, I was here, like, guarantee you there was PvP back then, and it created a lot of the fun, like the friendly banter. There was also immense amounts of collaboration and other brands building, in that case, on top of the Ape IP. And it wasn't just Apes, it carried on with many other communities. But I think with on-chain experimentation comes on-chain collaboration. And that's part of what I feel we've been missing for the most part for the last few years, is seeming to me that most of the innovation, most of the on-chain experimentation, it was coming in the fungible world. It was coming in the launch pads, whether Pump Fun and a meme launch pad or Hyperliquid and a perp dex. Like, most of the new stuff that was capturing the market's attention they weren't leveraging NFT technology. And now that we're bringing it back, I'm probably biased, but I believe that a non-fungible token, you can do a lot more with it. You can program a lot more against it than you can a fungible token that's got a supply in the billions.
Yeah, and Cap, and if you don't mind me just adding on
Go
to
for
that, the key important piece is, like, with special projects, right? We're gonna have these developers, they're seasoned developers, they've got the right base infrastructure to build and develop. And obviously, with special projects, we're hoping for things that are unicorns, and especially good when it's an on-chain business, because businesses make sense. They're self-sufficient. And I can tell you behind the curtains, I've told Uncle Mac, like, look, your target is, you need to be prepared for Chainlink VRF. On-chain VRNG is a huge industry. It's big enough that Chainlink has adopted it as one of their business models for revenue. You are competing with them. And so by the time they get on Robinhood Chain, you need to make sure that you're faster and cheaper than Chainlink so that people are using your VRNG product. If you've done that, you've won. You've built it on chain, like, you've won. Then your token system, your ecosystem, because you've built in this flywheel dynamic, works and builds upon itself. So your target is to be better than them by the time they get on Robinhood Chain. Do that, and it's a successful on-chain business, and the holders can be happy. You can be happy as a developer. And so then we try to look to replicate that process with additional unicorn on-chain technologies. I
love it. I mean, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, Chainlink obviously found product market fit. It's also, as I understand, it's kind of expensive to utilize their RNG tech. It's kind of expensive, and not on every chain yet, right?
Yeah, and it's not a decentralized revenue source either. Chainlink VR, if you pay them and you get the VRNG back, it's not, there's no circular flow. DERP is obviously different. The people are mining on the back end, earning revenue for providing these services. That's a better decentralized model. If we have all of our systems on chain working with these decentralized models, just like StonkBrokers is, I think we just have a better crypto, and it's more interesting for everybody.
Uncle Mac, go ahead and get back in here, and I got a few other questions for Simple Farmer. I appreciate your time. I know we kept you a little long. We will get you out of here as soon as possible. Uncle Mac, go ahead.
I actually don't have anything to add there. I think all the things I was going to add, Simple Farmer added. So I'll just add the small anecdotes that I liked from that section of conversation. I think there is PvP, but it's in a good way. The PvP is Pit Boys versus StonkBrokers, and it's not in terms of IP or pictures or vibes. It's in terms of like on-chain mining. That there's literally a blue mine and a green mine, and they're trying to sort of outmine each other in a way. So there's good PvP there, which I think is just fun. And then the second follow-up is Simple Farmer nailed it. My goal, my task, like now that this is launched, the ship is out at sea, is it's almost like in one way, yes, as a founder of something, I have to keep the ship afloat and floating, but I also have to like compete with other people who are trying to launch ships.
Mm-hmm.
So if I go into what I like to refer to as ADHD goblin mode and disappear from the timeline for a few days, know that it is because I need to put my head down. So yeah, I've launched this bad boy. It is sailing the open ocean. It's going to keep derping, but I also have to clock in and defeat our centralized competitors.
I love it. I love it. It's exciting to hear. And I love it hearing from you because it's not just me sitting like on my, my Monday morning quarterback seat here and saying, oh, competition's a good thing. To hear it coming from those who are competing in the trenches. Dunk agrees. Competition is a good thing. He also says, hey, I'm a whale holder of Chainlink and a believer, but it truly is expensive. And hey, someone finds a product that's got product market fit, but yet it's expensive and it's extremely high margin. I don't know, that's usually an opportunity to build another product. And for all the talk of this space is moving away from its decentralized ethos and it's becoming taken over by the institutions. And now there's a concern with some of these hardware wallets being hacked. Like it is, I think it's, I'm not just blowing smoke because Mac's on the stage. We got Simple Farmer on stream. It truly is this sort of stuff that keeps the decentralized builders like hope alive. Like this is a better way to build, especially for community-based builders and the space at large. Like, I don't think I guess J-Dunk and others you could probably hold Chainlink. Maybe you could stake it somewhere and earn a little bit of extra Chainlink, but it's probably going to pale in comparison to, what your opportunities might exist by mining DERP and helping build this decentralized product. No, Mac?
Yep. That's again, like you're just doing the things before I even talk. So I'll just put my hand up, wait till you finish, and then you've already done the thing.
Simple Farmer,
you get it. you just, and yeah, Simple Farmer said it as well. Like it is a better crypto. Like it's pulled it back. Like I mined ETH with my dad. We set up computers. We did the thing. We had to do all the same stuff that we're sort of doing with DERP. And not only was that a nice experience, but also you felt like you were doing something. You were participating more. And that was the key point that I put my hand up for. You said decentralized builders, but not just decentralized builders, like decentralized consumers, like people who maybe came to crypto and never really found any crypto because everything for the last like 3 or 4 years has been, make it easier, make it more centralized, make it, one click. And I think the before that was better. I think like, trying to work out some of these systems and optimize the system and mine the ETH and how to set up a mining pool. We've got PBC over there. He's like working out how to set up a mining pool on servers using DERP and StonkBrokers and Pit Boys. And this is where the original pump of crypto, the original fun of crypto came from, because it was all this innovation and there was friction to doing it, but the friction brought some satisfaction to it as well. It wasn't just like, do I want a wallet? Email, click. like that for me has lost some of the magic of it. And on the other side, Simple Farmers doing the stock certificates with that system built in for the other market who do want to sign in with an email and have a stock certificate as an NFT on chain. Like, so the two go hand in hand, and like my goal is make it really decentralized and fun again, and yeah, beat the big boys.
I love it. Simple Farmer, before we get to final words, Burb says NFTs carry so much utility that hasn't been explored. The tech is only going to get better. Keep innovating. The only fund I think we've gotten today for that carries any like maybe real weight is Honeypot says, "Why are you wearing a shirt?" I asked the same thing. This is
Honeypot, honeybee,
honeybee. This is this is like it's not the mullet. This is it's like I'm trying to think of a business in front, party in the back, but it's it's shirts on when we're talking professional. When we're clocked in, it's shirts on. You got to hit him after hours when he's clocked out for the shirts off. That's didn't land as well as I thought I could land that. But last request, and I do want to give you any final words. Anything? I'm sure there's a lot to share that we haven't even hit on today because there's so much more coming. Frosties was our first purchaser of the Coffee with Captain streamboard, the buycapcoffee.com. And I told him earlier, I said, since you were number one to take the center spot, what do you want? What should the utility come with buying that center spot? And his simple request is to ask you to shill OS Wiki as a result of acquiring that center sponsor spot. And in all seriousness, I think OS Wiki is the only place to go buy Clutch Puppy NFTs. Is that right? Or maybe the leading platform to go buy Clutch Puppy NFTs?
Yeah, I think, sometimes having the builders who are actively paying attention to the trenches and making sure their products are working with the NFTs that are functional is super important. You saw that here. Essentially, transfers were disabled during the StonkBrokers mint. Clutch Puppies were not tradable on OpenSea for that time, but they continue to be tradable on OS Wiki, which was obviously a good opportunity for some people, to participate in that. So shout out to Frosties for being aware and on time and on chain.
I love it. I love it. And I think that's, it is actually, I think a good cherry on top to this conversation is, listen, you may not be in, you could care less about tokenized stocks, or maybe you do think that Stonkbrokers is just a flash in the pan and it's not going to last, and the community is all going to up and take their balls and go home, or Mac and the Slop Father and everyone else that's building as part of this ecosystem, they just decide to go do their own thing in a few months. It's fine to feel that way. Like, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I'm not here to tell you to go buy anything or go to support anyone. But what I hope we all can agree with is this sort of on-chain collaboration, builders supporting other builders, whether it's on the technical side, whether it's on the distribution side, but working together. This really is, it's a large part of what got me so excited about Web3 to begin with. It's what got me so excited about NFTs to begin with. I share many times, like weeks after Many Apes, I said, oh man, I feel like I just joined a unicorn startup with like 2,500 of my closest friends who I already met with. And that's those, when I say it's giving me early board, that's the vibes it's giving me. Is yes, there's a lot of excitement around Stonkbrokers themselves, the NFT, the token. Seems like every day is a new all-time high. But for me, from my perspective, I truly am much more excited about this on-chain collaborations, builders supporting builders. It's the working together. It's trying new stuff. It's, maybe this is a on-chain experimentation is a fuzzy area or a concern for some of the more established brands, and they're not willing to take some of these same shots. Or, I mentioned, Yuga got a Wells notice after dropping ApeCoin, and maybe they're rightfully a little gun shy, or they're going to, check with their attorneys before they do anything. And the attorney's job is to mitigate risk. And they're always going to say, no, there's some risk associated with that. This administration could be out of office in a couple of years, and the war on crypto reignites in the States. Like, I don't know. I'm not in those boardrooms. I'm not a fly on the wall. All I know is, as an active participant, as someone who holds thousands of NFTs, and I've been in this space since 2021, it's this sort of activity that I think is when it's most exciting to be in NFTs. And is it more exciting when number goes up? Yeah, sure. Come on, let's be real. But I think part of why number goes up is this momentum, is this excitement, is the building amongst Web3 builders. And again, shout out to Frosties, not just because he purchased the center spot on buycapcoffee.com, not just because he's got clutch puppies on OS Wiki, but it's a builder who's in the trenches, who's lived in other side in that Yuga ecosystem and continues to do things that he sees an opportunity in the market. Hey, this is a hole. Hey, people want to trade clutch puppies that got disabled, to your point, for valid reasons on OpenSea, and he said, hey, maybe people want to trade these again. And sure enough, they're up 216% in the last day on 73,000 ape of volume. And so big and it's not just Simple Farmer, right? It's not just Mac, it's not just Slopfather, it's not just Frosties, but it's a combination of all these that gets me really excited about what's to come. And while I think that, do I care about floor price? I guess, yeah, sure. But that's not the driver. That's not why I think it's going to be relevant in a couple months. Could be up, could be down. Maybe it's the same. What I think is absolutely only going to continue to build momentum is this builder energy that, quite frankly, it's bigger than just StonkBrokers, right? Like I feel as if there's a builder energy on Robinhood Chain right now. And it's why I think Robinhood Chain lapped, I'm not talking TVL or, I mean, maybe some days or weeks in volume it has, but it's why I think Robinhood quickly lapped Base was, from my perspective, it's fanning the flames of this builder energy, right? It's doing more to support these builders. It's highlighting these builders more. And I'm seeing this collaboration of so many on-chain builders that you just don't see on many other chains. I thought Mega ETH was going to be that spot because of how much they were investing in their builders with their Mega Mafia and their hacker houses. And I thought they had a great concept, a great idea. I'm not knocking them. At the end of the day, I don't know as if any of those products actually found product market fit to generate this groundswell, to generate that grassroots organic support, what you've seen with StonkBrokers. And therefore it's now you have momentum. Now you have the ability to impact others like what Mac's building. Mac, go ahead and get back in here and then we'll give Simple Farmer final word.
Yeah, sure. The main thing that I liked there and that was saying on-chain builders. Again, it's like this, on-chain builders and on-chain consumers. But the key bit is on-chain. We use on-chain colloquially. Fuck me, I can't even say it, to say like we're doing stuff, on the blockchain. But what both me and Simple Farmer have built, and I would expect other builders are going to build in this way, is to make it like on-chain. We talk about on-chain, like the image is on-chain. It's not hosted on IPFS. And the same applies to the things that we're building, in that they are on-chain. Like I could accidentally not renew this website in a year, and the website would go down, but all the functionality of all of the smart contracts would still be the same, and you would just simply rebuild something that could use them again. It's not dependent on me. And the same with Simple Farmers. It's not dependent on him. And I think that what that allows us to do is continue then to build forward. We're not like constantly trying to manage a server. We're not making sure that the code is clicking these buttons in the correct way. We've deployed it once. Well, we've probably deployed it like 15, 16 times in testing, but then we deploy it the one time and it runs, and it should keep running as long as the chain runs. It doesn't require our oversight. I think that was my main point. So, and thanks for having me on today as well.
No, my pleasure. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks for not only adding to the conversation, thanks for adding to the StonkBrokers ecosystem. Thanks for solving something I think you shared last week, but like the fact that Mac shipped this with DERP and allowed this on-chain VRNG, it allowed you to ship the broker box even earlier than planned, right? Simple Farmer, were you like, I think BrokerBox you had it planned, but it wasn't, you were able to do it sooner because of Mac and what he was able to help provide, right?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Sorry about that. I was thinking about something as well.
You've got all of us thinking about a lot of things. I agree with Vinyl. You might have to change your name now that the shirt's on. You might have to rebrand as Complex Farmer, because I get like Simple Farmer, while it hit, like I think you've evolved beyond Simple Farmer. Individually, everything you've built, I think, is simple, but it's the fact that there is so much going on individually with third parties like Mac that that to me is exciting though, because it's not the same thing. Will we see others do this? Absolutely. We're going to see others that are going to have tokenized stocks somehow tied into NFTs, and we're going to see others that try to launch an on-chain VRNG. Like, that's not new per se. I think what is new and unique and deserves all the attention in the world is the on-chain builders, to Mac's point, is the collaboration of people working together, not just the builders, but quite frankly, it's the builders working together to build composable technology on top of each other, and then the community jumping in and supporting it. Like, I can't tell you how many people I saw with a StonkBroker and a PFP are talking about mining dirt. And it's like, this is, man, I need to think through how I want to wordsmith this better, because it really is, it's refreshing. It's bringing back so much of the energy and excitement that I felt in 21, 22, that I wasn't leaving, I wasn't going anywhere, but we hit kind of a lull of on-chain experimentation and new stuff. And so yeah, whether we keep it simple farmer, we go to complex farmer, thank you very much on behalf of the space at large for bringing back some fun, some excitement, and inspiring more on-chain building.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, hopefully that's the long-term result of this, is that building goes from being a high-risk, low-reward process to a still high-risk but high-reward process when building with StonkBrokers. You know, we very much believe in that, like, virtuals model, where we're going to have a lot of unicorns come through. The whole StonkBrokers community is actively scouting. They've got their ears and eyes open for the people building the unicorns. I am in the DMs of the people I think are talented developers who should experiment on chain and build a StonkBrokers launcher project. I did DM Frosties and I told him to come up with something and let's bring it into the Stonk launcher. I think he's a super talented developer, and we're going to keep bringing them in. And, you know, that's going to be rewarding for those developers. It's going to be rewarding for the StonkBrokers, because all of those products have to pair 50% of their starting LP at launch with the StonkBroker token. So it's a win-win for everybody, and it's a win-win for crypto as a whole.
I love it, man. I love it. Looking forward to Frosty's launch on StonkBrokers, whatever that may be. No pressure. But for those that are listening and maybe have not come across your radar yet, or maybe haven't got a DM from you, what's the best? Is it DM you? Is it jump in a Discord? Like, if someone is excited, they listen in today, whether live or they hear the playback, and like, I want to build in this ecosystem. What's the next step for them? Is it simply DM you, or DM the StonkBrokers account? How do you want them to follow up and go forward?
Yeah, the best thing to do by far, because my DM is flooded with people right now. Go to the StonkBrokers Discord, the Clutch Markets Discord. That is, it's on the bottom left of the website. There we have a section called Special Projects. We have a section called Trading Floor. You can pitch your ideas to the brokers, who are the Shark Tank of Robinhood Chain. And, you know, when we see the really interesting things, we'll try to propel them to get to the launch pad. Now, when I say really interesting things, it's not really great to come with just ideas unless you just want feedback on your ideas. If you actually want to get the launch, we're looking for, you know, MVPs, preferably audited as well, ready to go, and preferably, you know, people who have built something on chain before as well, because that level of experience is required. It's still a very high pressure situation. A lot of people are speculating big time on things that are going to come out of StonkBrokers. We have the launch pad as well. So, you know, I think it's a great place for the people who are ready, battle tested developers, to come and test their skills and this little developer dojo, if you will.
I love it. And it's good that yourself, the StonkBroker, doing some due diligence, doing some vetting, if you will. Also a good time to remind everyone that doesn't necessarily mean that they're endorsed by you or StonkBrokers. Doesn't mean that, you know, that you shouldn't do your due diligence, whether it's DERP or Manser or anything else that comes out. Like, still do proper due diligence, still do your own research, and maybe get involved. Maybe you're not a builder, but you want to get involved in you want to see more behind the scenes. Get in the Discord, join the process, and see how they're communicating, talking with some of these builders, and what ideas are coming. And maybe you pitch an idea and it's just not the right time. Maybe you have a great idea, but you don't have an MVP yet. You've never built anything on chain yet, and don't take offense to it. Know that while it's not a quote unquote endorsement, you know, the community, Simple Farmer, they have somewhat of a responsibility, likely to do some proper vetting and make sure that they're not throwing their support behind something that may not be ready for prime time. And I think maybe you can see how this happened fast, but the reality is, you know, a collaboration with StonkBrokers, right? It is prime time. Like, they've taken over the timeline. They've taken over the trading volume. Like, it's very real. And the fact that it's on Robinhood Chain, which is the new shiny toy right now. Like, this is a really big deal. So congratulations to yourself, to Mac, to Slopfather, to everyone that's got in with the mint, or you picked up a stockbroker on the market, or if you don't have anything, but you've been out there and you've done some test pulls, you've done some pulls on the broker box. Like, this is, I think, supporting our on-chain experimenters and those that are attempting to push forward new product, new primitives, and I think this is how the next wave of onboarding takes place. Not saying that your aunt and uncle are going to come in and buy a stockbroker so they can earn some stocks, but this is stuff that should inspire the next wave of builders. And you pull that broker box and send your loved one you're probably not going to send your loved one an NFT of a PFP, of some IP. Maybe you can send them some stock, and that's a great way to introduce them to something on chain that's new, that's more than just stock. So yeah, thanks again for the innovation, the experimenting, and anything else we didn't hit on today, anything that you were hoping to share with our audience. I know I kept peppering you with questions. Hopefully I didn't ask you too many hard ones, but anything that you wanted to share this morning we haven't hit on yet? Any closing comments?
No, I think, thank you for your questions, and thank you for the opportunity to present more details around the plans and the product. Just know that I'll just make the best decisions I can at every point to make this as successful as possible. That's my goal. To come out, put in the work every day, and improve, and at the same time make crypto like a better place. Because like right now, if my son is not very old right now, he's 2, but if he was like at 16 years old and he said he started trading crypto, I'd be kind of worried. I'd be like, let me see what you're buying, because people are probably going to scam you. And that's kind of embarrassing. And I feel isolated. I feel isolated from my friends, from my family when I talk about crypto. The goal of StonkBrokers is to be developing technologies that we can be proud of. So we don't have to feel isolated anymore from our family. So we can present cool technologies. And when people are using, maybe some app that does some crazy cool feature, sending somebody a Stonk certificate through text or through email or through X, you can say, hey, I built that, and like everyone's using it. That's something we can all be proud of, instead of fart coins.
I can relate, and at the same time I'm going to blame you, because I was feeling more connected with my family, my girlfriend, who tunes into the show occasionally and is extremely supportive of everything I do. And I was feeling pretty connected, feeling pretty good. But yet, I kid you not, like, I don't know how to explain to her that I minted these 2 NFTs for free a couple weeks ago, and they're now worth $25,000, and I'm not selling them. Like, that's a conversation I'm not prepared to have. And so if you're listening to this, you can ask me about it later. I'll do my best to explain why. But yeah, so thank you for bringing us closer to things we can talk about with our family. But at the same time, you're making it challenging, because I got to understand why these pixelated JPEGs are something I'm not interested in parting with for $12,800 as of this morning. But anyways, I kid. Really enjoyed the show today. Super pumped for you. And this, like, I think, while StonkBrokers is exciting, I hope the builders out there, I hope they can appreciate your journey from Clutch Puppies and Pixel Pups and Pup Cup, and your time with Ape Chain, and just the constant experimentation, constantly looking for something new and attempting new stuff, experimenting on new things. But yet, one of my favorite parts about how you've done that is you've brought your holders along this whole time. And someone minted Clutch Puppies, the very first project you shipped. I mean, we were talking earlier before you joined us on the show. I was grateful that, from your Clutch Market sponsorship. And we were talking about Clutch Markets every day on the show. It was the first to bring on-chain parlays. Now Kalshi has that. I don't think Polymarket does still, but you were the first one to even enable that. And that was as someone who's dabble in sports betting and prediction markets. That was exciting to me. It's like, oh, this is something exciting. It's new product. It's new innovation. And while that was new, and as was the Anvil, it hadn't had the commercial success or the industry success like we're seeing with StonkBrokers. But I feel it's important to share that part of your story, share that part of your journey with everyone who's hearing this, to realize this isn't some flash in the pan. This isn't some overnight success. This is a combination of years in the DeFi trenches, years in the space, ideating and continuing to experiment, and then with every iteration, bringing your earliest supporters along. And that, to me, is, I hope, how most NFT PFP brands navigate, is when they do experiment and do something new, just don't forget to attempt to drive that alignment with your initial supporters, those who have been around for the journey. And yeah, thank you very much for how you've moved as much as what you're doing and what you're shipping. It's greatly appreciated. And I need to come up with a better word, but refreshing is what I keep coming back to, because it's inspiring. Like, I'm not the experience on-chain builder that you're looking for, but I'm a builder and I love this space. And it really is, it's re-inspiring me to, like, I don't know, maybe I do play around and try to vibe code some of these ideas I've had pop in my head. Maybe I partner with another seasoned dev like a Uncle Mac or a Frosties or someone to bring one of these ideas to reality. Because quite frankly, just be real, like I don't need to, like, it's just more work. Doing it on chain just comes with a lot of headaches, and just wasn't seeing the support, but you're bringing a lot of that back and a lot of that hope. And yeah, so thanks on behalf of the space at large. Greatly appreciate you and how you're building things.
And, you know, Cap, you're very much the target audience for StonkBrokers too. People who host streams, X Spaces, that's a fantastic holder for StonkBroker, because look, maybe you wake up that morning, you see what new special project launch, maybe that's a guest on your show, maybe that's an interesting technology or token to talk about, and you get to talk about it on your show, not for free. You actually have upside as well in that whole process because of the broker itself.
For sure. No, absolutely. I mean, it's not just Mac and Slopfather, but I am 100% going to be looking at, okay, who's the next, big thing to launch with StonkBrokers and in this ecosystem. And yeah, absolutely great guests on the show. Not just because of, oh, this could be something that, earns more fees and makes my quote unquote bags go up, but this is kind of builders I want to support. Those are supporting other on-chain builders. Those are building in the space. And while I'm not a purist in the sense that I know all my crypto is not self-custody. Like I use Coinbase, I use Robinhood. I do hold some self-custody, but it's not everything. I'm not the purist who everything has to be purely decentralized. At the same time, when it comes to builders, this is like, Derp excites me a heck of a lot more than Chainlink. It just does. Like this is the ethos of crypto, in my opinion.
And Cap, we solve a big thing using DeFi. We solve a big thing using LPs. Because all of these tokens that come through are paired with StonkBroker at launch, they self-propel each other. Because Derp comes through, is paired with StonkBroker. Every buy of Derp has to use some StonkBroker as well. That pushes up the price of the StonkBroker token. When Mancer comes through, every buy on Mancer is a buy on the StonkBroker token. Because the StonkBroker token is also paired with Derp, that also pushes up Derp. So all of the technologies flow into each other and aggregate value.
The challenge for yourself and everyone listening, I need to come up with a better word than flywheel. Because that's like hearing it like, okay, what is engine. What you just described? What is that? And flywheel, I blame Punk Strategy and that whole ecosystem for ingraining flywheel in my head. But the reality is a good flywheel is powerful. It works. And I say something like synergies, and then I think, oh my God, I'm back on like the 9-to-5 corporate America hat. So I need something better than flywheel, something better than synergies. But like this ecosystem, this environment, this community of builders, that's what's not getting enough attention on the timeline, in my opinion. It's like all the attention that StonkBrokers is getting, the floor price, it's all deserved. But what I would love to find a way to bring more attention to is this ecosystem of, because I think there's a lot of people that probably have seen StonkBrokers. They're either in or they're on their sideline and they've got opinions about the floor price. It's going to go up or down. But I think there's a lot that have no idea that it's not just StonkBrokers. That is a whole ecosystem of builders. And so anyone come up with a better word than synergies or flywheel, I'm all ears.
Engine. It's an engine with good tokenomics.
That's good. Simple farmer or complex farmer, depending on who you ask. Thank you very much for your time today. We will definitely do it again. And I'm not gonna make any calls on floor price. I know I upset some people when I talk PvP, so I'm not gonna say StonkBrokers are gonna flip CryptoPunks. They didn't flip apes during live on the show this morning, which some people were saying might happen. But I'm here for the collaboration, the friendly competition, and mostly the on-chain builders working together and doing new things, bringing back the experimenting. That's the meta. It's not RWAs. It's not on-chain stocks. The meta is leaning into on-chain experimenters again and building new things on-chain, building new primitives, new protocols, and then finding ways to, an engine that continues to reinvest those fees, those royalties, whatever they may be, back into said ecosystems, back into supporting builders, plural. Things get exciting pretty quick. So
And I'm a big fan, Cap, of all of the legacy IP brands: Pudgies, Apes, Punks, GVC, Chimpers, Quirkies. I mean, I talked to the Sergito from Meebits. I talk to the founders as often as I can. I learned a lot from them, how they move. These guys are hard workers. Hopefully, parts of this engine can be parts of the process to assist and collaborate in some way with all of those NFT brands as well, so we can all really do better together and make it make sense financially long term.
I love it, man. Appreciate you. Thanks again for so much of your time today. Kept you far longer than we were expecting, but I'll blame myself for my monologue and getting too excited about all that you're building a little early there. But certainly appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate Mac for joining us and sharing a little more on Derp. Mac, I do owe you also, like, speaking of builders, to highlight, we owe you a full proper interview. I know we've talked kind of in passing now about the Stonk Pit and Derp a couple times, but yeah, let's connect and see if we can find a day that works good for a full proper sit down. And also goes for our guy Frosties and OS Wiki. Thanks again for sponsoring the center spot on buycapcoffee.com. OS Wiki, go check it out. And yeah, if you're in the market for one of Simple Farmer's first NFT collections, you can find a clutch puppy on OS Wiki. It's only up 200% on the day, but you can still go fetch one for, as of this recording, 4,444 ape. We'll get you a floor clutch puppy. And I mean, one thing we didn't talk about at all, I mean, we talked about Anvil, we didn't really talk about K9, but all that stuff is still, like, it's not dead, right? It's still very much in this, the whole process. Anything that, I know I said I'd let you go, but anything on the K9 side that you feel it's worth a fly over here as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that, like even Mac mentioned earlier, is that all these processes work perpetually on chain, and I always try to build processes and tokens that are perpetually deflationary based on their use. So this is all based on community activation. Obviously, 100% of the focus right now is on StonkBrokers, building out the eco. Cap, we have to deliver right now in a big way, making the launch pad elite. It has to be great, because that delivery itself is gonna, obviously generate a lot of revenue for NFT holders, but then you'll see what I think might be some of the largest translation to value for NFT holders and NFT floor price that you've maybe ever seen in history.
It's exciting, man. And not to pin you on a date or a timeline, but do we is that something? Are we thinking like August 2026 on that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
This month, for sure. It'll drop at a random time on a random day, and like I said, there's going to be some very fun mechanics in there. I think there'll be a lot of interesting launches, and there's going to be no way for people to be extractors, farmers, and stuff like that. Obviously, people will still attempt to launch scam tokens, but there's going to be a lot of safety measures and adjustments made that make the process much fairer and kind of take the advantage away from some of the people who have been manipulating the space for a long time.
It's exciting, man. I can't wait. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to you continuing your on-chain journey, as well as with so many of these other builders like Mac and Slotfather as well. Everyone who tuned in today, I see over 1,000 on the video feed. That's exciting. Still well over 100 of you in the audio spaces. You're all legends. Really appreciate the support today. And again, big thanks to Simple Farmer bringing back some fun and experimentation on chain once again. And I do think, while I don't expect everyone to go compete and try to do the same thing, I do think it would benefit a lot of the NFT PFP brands to try to take some plays out of the playbook. What on-chain protocol might you ship? And it creates an engine for your NFT holders, for your community. We've seen some that have stuck. We've seen some come and go, but we've also seen, by revenue wise, two of the the largest, Pump Fund and Hyperliquid, they haven't went anywhere. They're still generating millions of in fees and continuing to support their ecosystems with those fees and that on-chain volume. We talked about Uniswap earlier, same thing. And I think it's I've hoped it's only been a matter of time before we saw that same sort of activity, that same engine work its way into NFTs, and here we are. So looking forward to it. We'll have to have you back on after the Launchpad launches to give everyone another update of some of these new fun mechanics and what makes it different than the Pump Funds of the world. But one thing I'm sure, I don't know if it's going to be massive commercial success or not, but I'm sure we'll see some new twists, some new stuff, and some new things some new experimentation coming out of you and your group. So thanks again so much for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern time. If you are new here, we do go live every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Usually we don't go quite this long, but that first hour of the day is often a trending news, trending topics, daily market update, and then the second hour of the show is often subject matter experts, founders, leaders in the space that are pushing the space forward, like Simple Farmer. We don't have a guest like this every day, but very grateful to more often than not, we have some big brains here joining us. The reminders are pinned up top. Go hit those reminders for the rest of the shows this week. And we'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, clock in. And Simple Farmer, thanks again for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate Frosty's and Dwayne for the support on the BiCap coffee board. And to the rest of you, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks, Cap.